Good evening, councillors, members of the public in the gallery and also on Zoom. This meeting is being live streamed via Zoom webinar facility. Recordings of the council meeting or parts thereof cannot be copied, recorded, reproduced, reused or transmitted without the prior written consent of the general manager. The meeting is being recorded and made publicly available on council website, and persons attending the meeting should refrain from making appropriate statements. Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri, Gundungurra and Darug people and respects the history and culture of the elders both past and present. I'll now invite the Reverend Johnny Lush to lead the council in a prayer.
For having this evening, friends. Let me pray. Our loving Father, we thank you for the freedoms and the safety we enjoy in our country. We thank you for the privilege of living in such a beautiful part of Australia and a part of the world. Lord, I thank you for each one of the councillors who serve us here in the community of Oberon, and for the staff who take care of so much of the necessary work that goes on. Lord, I pray for this meeting, we commit it to you. I pray that you would give the councillors the wisdom that they need in their decision making, that they might govern wisely as they serve the people and region of Oberon. We pray these things in Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Record of attendance, there are no leaves of absence. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Graham.
The peculiar interest in item 13.5.2. Request by Oberon Public Field. That one works for there.
Okay.
And I have a non-peculiar less than significant for item 16.6.
You can leave the room for the 356 donation. I'm happy for you to remain in the room and listen to the debate for 626. There are no presentations this evening. The public gallery is open to members of the community. The community is given the opportunity to ask questions at the commencement of each council meeting. And the mayor is to ask the questions from the gallery prior to commencement of the meeting itself. Members of the public wishing to address council are permitted to do so, provided the following guidelines are adhered to. The person asking the question of the council must clearly state their name and in what capacity they are acting. And if the person asking the question is acting on another person or organisation, they must advise council if they have their prior consent authority. Questions from the public is not an opportunity for debate with elected representatives or staff. It's an opportunity for the community to ask a question in relation to an issue or put a point of view relating to an issue that may be causing interest or concern. Due to time constraints, a time frame of 3 minutes per speaker is allocated. All questions and comments must be directed through the mayor, and in the instance of a question, if it cannot be answered, it will be taken on notice and a response given within a reasonable period. This is the only opportunity for a community member to address council during an ordinary meeting. Are there any questions from the gallery? Mr. Sullivan.
Good evening. My name is Keith Sullivan. I represent nobody else except myself. My question this evening is that I note in the 13th minutes really I've only listed the 2I fund. There's mentioned that a legal opinion in regard to the fund or operation has been obtained. In view of the court decision approximately 2 years ago, in regards to the community's right to know, far out suiting the normal issue of confidentiality, luckily the council should disclose that information, or at least those parts that are not going to create some injury to any party. I was wondering why that hasn't been done. That's a very simple question.
At all?
So
General Manager?
Through the chair, advice gets obtained for legal matters all the time. Council has a professional legal privilege that they need to hold, and that's what's happening with regard.
Well, could I suggest that the decision of the court, if it's obtained and looked at, you can put what you're saying. Thank you.
So. All right, item 8.1, confirmation of minutes. These are the minutes, recommendations of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 21st of February 2023 be confirmed. Moving and seconded, please. Councillor McKibben, Councillor Hayden. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm more than happy to recommend that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on 21st of February 2023 be confirmed.
Councillor Hayden.
I'm happy to move to second the recommendation.
Any other councillors? Councillor McCarthy.
Yes, the minutes are correct, Mr. Mayor. Record of attendance on page 12. Stated there that I'm not in attendance yet. In the presentations, it shows that I asked several questions, so the minutes aren't correct.
That's noted, and we'll make sure you, before I sign them, I'll have you put back in where you're supposed to be in attendance. Anyone else? Put the motion, all in favour? Motion is passed. Item 8.2, Works Committee meeting on the 7th of March 2023. Recommendations of the minutes of the Works Committee meeting held on the 7th of March 2023 be confirmed and resolutions endorsed. Now, I'll just make a quick alteration to one item, which is on page 7, and that is about item 5.4. At the bottom, there is an amendment that was voted upon, and in paragraph 2, we need to delete the word annual in the second line, and in the last line where it says financial year, make that financial years.
Sorry, and I'm not sure if it was part of the resolution. There was a call that we have to review things annually. I don't know.
That was not voted on, so therefore it's not a resolution, but I am very much aware that.
Take it. I'm happy with that.
All right, Councillor Hayden, you second?
Moving, second, approval.
Yes, I'm happy. Second.
Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation and accept the minute.
Mr. I'm happy to second the motion, subject to those amendments.
Thank you.
Those amendments were made. All those in favour? Councillor McCarthy. All those in favour? Yeah, the motion carried. Right, item 9.1, the mayoral minute. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to second the mayoral minute. I just thought that we might have to amend on the section of Roads and Assets Council workshop.
Page 51.
Yeah.
I pointed out in a meeting.
And that was the late cancellation of that particular event, which is now happening on the 28th. Councillor Kenny.
Just a couple of minor points on the 22nd of February meetings. The Oberon Timber Complex Consolidated Committee meeting, there wasn't a meeting, it was cancelled on that day.
Yes, you're right. Councillor Turnbull, you went down there, didn't you?
There was no meeting, we got notified late the day before.
I'm sure.
We got notified at the moment on that, right? Well, thank you.
I know Lauren did, but there was no meeting.
And nice copy though.
And on the 6th of March, just on the community hub committee meeting, I noticed, or I have noticed, or I'm missing it, we don't seem to be getting the reports on the portal monthly that we were supposed to get for the hub. Haven't had it some several months, unless I'm looking in the wrong spot.
Through the chair, I want to make sure that they're uploaded.
I could be looking in the wrong spot, but I can find it. It's been late last year, October or something.
Okay. And through the chair, I could be putting them in the location, so.
I found it, so that's all I have. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone else? Put the motion, all in favour? Motion's passed.
Mr. Mayor, do you mind if I interrupt a moment? I suspect the answer to this is no, but is there any way of reopening questions? I believe some of the people who just arrived have come to ask questions and they will wait. But it may not be possible in the audio meeting.
I will make an exception. But when we open a council meeting, we run through an agenda and I will make an exception because of the number of people that are here. If you had have known about these people arriving, they'll be late, I may have delayed. So we'll call a brief adjournment here and I'll ask any other questions from the floor. And so that you are aware, you missed the preamble. And I'll have to repeat that. For those who are lost, who wish to ask a question.
Maybe we should, could we vote on the, we haven't voted on the middle minute, have we? Should we vote on that first? So we finish that item?
All in favour? I'll just read out the preamble again. Thank you, Councillor Tucker.
And I'm full of them, but I didn't.
Well, that is your oversight, which is quite disruptive. Questions from the public is not an opportunity for debate with elected representatives or the staff. It is an opportunity for the community to ask questions in relation to an issue, or a point of view relating to an issue that may be causing interest or concern. Due to the time constraints, time frame of 3 minutes per speaker is allocated. All questions and comments must be directed through the mayor, and in the instance of question, if it cannot be answered, it will be taken on notice and a response given at a reasonable period. This is the only opportunity for community members to address council during an ordinary meeting. Now, are there any questions?
Yes.
Can I come to the front here, please? Just state your name and if you're speaking on your own behalf.
Yes, my name's Lou Purser, and I'm speaking on behalf of the residents of Lower Dart Street. I have a few very brief notes. I believe I will be the only person to speak today, unless there's a very brief projection from somebody else. Okay, in this event, I would like to make a statement. There are questions involved, but hence, please, may they just be rhetorical and be responded to at some other point. From now on, I will refer to the works as being the upgrade of the curb and guttering at the lower end of Dart Street towards the west. Everyone understands the fundamental properties of water and the science of gravity. Water desires to find the lowest point. It does not pass go. It does not collect $200. Most of Dart Street properties have been affected by drainage. And affected by drainage for many years before these works had even been considered. Why are the residents therefore distressed by the works and the sudden invoice received after these works commenced? Why didn't the council give the residents the courtesy of being notified 28 days prior to the commencement of the work. After the works, many properties now experience additional drainage problems. If council had given this notification to residents as per the Act 28 days prior to the commencement of the work, there would have been a number of contribution to the following key points: advice, problem solving, and the chance to oppose. Advice on the existing drainage problem. I have more for. The nature of the water flow after a deluge is just chronic down our end of the woods. And the issues that are affecting us are individual to each and every property at the bottom end of the street. Problem solving. Troubleshooting the existing problems and offering potential solutions would have been a factor in this matter with regards to drainage. We could help foresee any potential new problems that may be associated with the proposal of the works that were going forward. However, none of the residents knew about it. We could have had the chance to oppose what was going on due to the nature of the works. I mean, if it was deemed by the residents who live here every day to be a quality result, it would have been fine. However, for the majority, it seems like it was futile, unnecessary, and the proposal, did not seem viable for the works that were completed. As ratepayers, residents understand that council have voted in to help the people and support them and represent them in the problems that they face day to day by listening. Why did council rush into the works? Why did council break their own rules with the 28-day period of notice to all? And why did not council seek the residents' input so we could all work together towards an amicable solution for all of us? So this is the end of my statement on behalf of the residents, the properties, and our innocent, most precious resource. Water. Thank you.
Just through the chair, if you could leave us your speech or your words, if that's okay. We can get a photocopy for you if you would. Would
you mind if I type it up? Or someone type it up? Like it's.
Through the chair, I've got a very good
Transcriber.
transcriber. I just want to make sure you get the whole. Thank you.
That'll be in the next, we put everything you said into the minutes, so that's fully recorded.
Okay, oh, thank you very much. When should we do that? And do we need to say that unless anyone else?
If you want to stay, that's fine. If you want to go, that's fine. Up to you.
Is there, excuse me, are we allowed, able to just have one more?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, this is no everything. Feel like I'm at school again saying a speech. My name is Lisa Marie Zagarelli. I also live on Dart Street. My question is why is this policy in place in the first place? In the 2023, in the 21st century, we're not living out rural. We are living in a town, and this drainage issue should have been taken care of many years ago. And the response that I have asked previously, I came into council and have asked some questions
And that I haven't received any answer as to why this community is, majority of your community is pensioners who have worked their entire lives to own these houses and to have these properties. And unfortunately, they're getting stuck with a 50% bill to pay for curb and guttering. Curb and guttering is also an act of roads and pavements and sidewalks. This is something that the government should be taking care of, not the personal residents. Because I see it as if I'm paying 50% for something, then in a court of law, I have ownership, part ownership of that I have paid 50% for. That curb and guttering, I don't own. I didn't have any say in, I didn't have any opinion as to that curb and guttering works, but I yet still got a bill to pay 50% for it. If I go to the shops and I pay for something, then it's something that I've put into it. I haven't put anything into this. I never even got asked. I got sent a letter on the 1st of September saying that these works were going to commence and that I had an opportunity to oppose it. But they had already started these works down Lou's end of the street. So by the time they got to mine, I didn't even have time to come and oppose it until they sent me a bill in the letterbox saying, you owe us 50% for curb and guttering. And I don't believe that that is right. I believe that that is a council government situation that this should have been done a long time ago. Not now, 2023, and that the residents still have to pay 50% for it. So I just want to know personally as to why this policy is still in place. And if there is something that can be looked upon for future residents so that they don't get stuck with the same problem. And I've been told that, you know, it makes a difference to my property as for when I sell it. But I'm sorry, when someone comes from Sydney to look at my property to buy it, they're not going to say, well, that's a lovely curb and gutter, I'll give you an extra 10 grand. You know, at the end of the day, I came from Sydney and I've only been here 8 months. And to get this was pretty disappointing. Because at the end of the day, this is an issue that should have been looked at a long time ago, considering that it's a town. And we are in town and we are all supposed to help each other out. So I just wanted to, if this doesn't pass for us, where we still have to pay for future residents, this is a policy that I would like everybody to have a look at and see what they can do about. Thank you for listening to me.
Gentleman to provide a response to.
That one point. On
Your name?
Brennan David. Lisa's husband. Our bill that we've got states that we're being charged 50% for curb and guttering. Majority of the work that was done is just curb, no gutter. So we're getting charged for something that's not even there.
Other way around.
Yeah, other way around. So we've got guttering, no curb. Yeah, we're just got the dish gutter. So
I'll
thank
have
you.
the general manager that to be let it be the new what. Anyone else for the question? Thank you, and you're very welcome, very much. Or not.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, let's resume with item 10.1. Notice the motion, so the parking space. The motion is that council relocate current disabled parking space from the Ross Street location near the National Australia Bank and relocate it to a position in front of the Food Works supermarket in Oberon Street. Councillor Hayden. Seconder.
I'll second the discussion.
Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, the reason behind this motion is I've been contacted over a period of 12 months from numerous residents some of them being older residents, some being infirm and not able to walk long distances. The state of the hours of the NAB facility there not being opened all the time all day. I just thought I would put this motion across so that we could see about putting another disabled parking area, maybe relocating the one from the NAB to the front of the Foodworks supermarket, in keeping with the other disabled that's in front of the Moorwood supermarket. It just gives those infirm shoppers the ability to choose and preference whichever shop they'd like. Would also give Live Better and other carers the ability to take the people they care for to the business without having to walk over long distances.
I just think the proper process for this should be, goes to the health committee, I'm sorry, but although with these disabled accesses, when there's an ordinary access there, it doesn't stop a disabled person from parking in the ordinary access. So I think, I don't know if someone wants to put an amendment up, but I think proper process that goes off to health.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I don't oppose it, but I think we need some further investigation. I'd be happy to move following amendment. With that, the matter be referred to the Traffic Management Committee to investigate the feasibility of moving the current disabled parking space from a Ross Street location near the National Australian Bank to a position in front of the Foodworks supermarket in Oberon Street. That's part one. Part two would be that the general manager in concert with the technical services director provide a costing for undertaking this activity and report back to us where a source of funds may be obtainable for this activity. You get that?
Not in the right screen when you started, I'm sorry, councillor.
Oh, God, I can't remember that. I'll start again.
That's a reasonable crack at what you said. Would suffice.
Okay, I would move an amendment that council refer the matter to the Traffic Management Committee. Was it traffic? Yeah, to TALC. To advise on the feasibility of relocating the current disabled parking space from Ross Street location in the National Australian Bank to a position in front of the Foodworks supermarket in Oberon Street. That's part one. The second would be that the general manager. Right.
From the Ross Street location in front of the National Australian.
Is the wording in the motion above? You get most of that.
Sorry, that's on another screen. Oh,
Where did we get to, Sharon?
Here the national authority
yeah,
and relocate to a position.
Oh, well, we've already said relocate, we never say tribe, to a position in front of the Foodworks supermarket in Oberon Street. Wait.
yeah,
And two would be, or bullet two, whatever how you want to do it, it's probably better to do it number two, would be that the general manager provide a costing for the relocation and identify a source of funding for that relocation. And we stop. And I suppose number three is the matter be referred back to council for a decision.
I think that is what will have to happen anyway.
That will have to happen, so it probably doesn't need to be said.
Yeah, through the chair, TALC is the advisory committee and council make those.
So I'm moving that obviously as an alternate motion.
bring it up on
Okay. try to speak. That's your fault.
Agree with that?
I'm happy with that.
Do I have a second to this amendment? Councillor Tucker. Speak.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
I think I've spoken to it
Okay.
in the preamble, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a similar amendment ready to go. I don't know that number 2 is strictly necessary because that would be the normal course of events anyway, when it goes to tell that the director would, as a matter of course, provide a report of that nature to tell. It doesn't matter if it's there or not there, but yeah, I had that amendment ready to go because that is our obligation under the delegation. The same as we just did over the pool, we are required to refer to tell together, guys. We're not, don't necessarily have to follow the advice, but we have to receive the advice.
Any other council wish to speak to this? Right, I will put the amendment. All those in favour? Amendment is carried unanimously. The amendment now becomes the motion. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 10.2, after hours opening of public toilet facilities. The motion is that council trial of the 24-hour opening of 2 of council's public toilet facilities, one being located in Cook Park, Oberon Street, and second at Apex Park for a period of 60 days. After such a trial, and if no malicious damage or vandalism occur, further decision is to be made to maintain the opening of these facilities long term. Mover, councillor Hayden. Seconder. Motion will lapse. There is no seconder, the motion has lapsed. Item 10.3, land at Tasman Street, Oberon. The motion is that council obtain costing for the 2023-2024 budget for the cementing of drain top at the end of, as the western end of the block known as 28 Tasman Street, Oberon. Do I have a mover? Councillor McCarthy, a seconder. Councillor Tucker. Councillor McCarthy.
I think I've given enough information. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, this is something that I've raised a couple of times recently, just hoping that we might be able to do something more useful with that land. I just wonder about a minor amendment if Councillor McCarthy is amenable to it, but after the word cementing, to add the words or piping. So to have a look at both options of either concrete lining the drain or piping it for that section.
Yeah.
Amazing, yeah.
Councillor Trimbath.
I would just like to group there to ask what would be the implications with moving the waterfalls according to environmental legislation. That's basically what we're asking to do here.
Your service director.
Through the chair, it's certainly something that we would need to look at. There are certain definitions of what water courses are and what they aren't, and it certainly would form part of this work that we would do in regard to getting a costing.
So we clearly didn't develop this land previously. It was part of a bigger lot that the council owned. Was there a reason for that?
Or through the chair, I don't know that really, but I'll be reasonably sure the water course at the bottom of the hill was the reason it wasn't input wasn't included in the original subdivision, it's probably my,
Mhm.
that I could get a confirmation on that if it exists. But it was done some time ago, I'm not sure, but that would be the reason why it's affected in the case.
Through the chair, I would prefer that we have an amendment that this be investigated. Similarly as what we've just talked about for the health and disabled spot. That we get a costing on what this worth and cover off any environmental impact of using a water course.
Okay, can you provide,
And I didn't write it.
you didn't write it down, but you can provide the gist of it to
Yeah.
Mrs. Fennell.
Yeah. Point one, that we investigate the movement of the water course and any environmental legislation impact that may be related to this. And two, full report to council for decision before we take any further steps. And three, identify the source of funding.
Investigating the movement of the water course. But that doesn't investigate the original request, which was the costing for cementing the drain. Like the drain, you know what that was in your question?
Yeah.
Through the chair, that was certainly undertaken as part of the costings report, because if you move it, I would include that, but I think it included. That really taken.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think in three,
Related, sorry. Anyway, environmental.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just comment on the wording in three. At the end of the first line in three, it says of the watercourse and for cementing or piping of drain top end. I think it should be cementing the drain top end or piping.
With Councillor Trevor,
I
we'll have a seconder. Councillor Gillard. And you're spoken as much as you need to. Councillor Gillard.
Thank you. I'm happy to second it, but I would seek some clarification for the general manager and the technical services director. Is this actually the relocation of the water course, or is this not in the normal course of events of just covering over or piping that waterfall basically in the same location.
Through the chair, we have looked at all those options. If you put a pipe across the block, you probably impinge on the availability of being able to use that, the entirety of that block. So we would look at that option to do both if there was a engineering solution to that.
So will these activities, one or other, and I realise it will be subject to the investigation, make or put this Tasman Street block in a better position for council to be able to dispose of it and to earn income from it, either as a sale or a lease or anything. I'm just trying to understand the reasoning for this.
Through the chair, that would be a decision of council. Like, at this point in time, council could resolve to put it on the market, like, without doing anything. But there is a, what we will do is provide a costing as to what it looks like. I would say, I dare say, if you want a full report, this resolution works, we probably need to get a value of what that looks like in its current form and make some assumptions that way.
But I understand one of the reasons that this land has been kept by council previously is that there have been some flood issues and other issues.
Through the chair, I can't comment whether there's been flooding on that block or not. It's undulating with a low-lying area that runs through the middle.
That's right.
Or to
So,
one side of it.
so bearing in mind the reason it hasn't been sold previously and it's been kept by council, and there are reasons for that. Is this likely to address some of the issues that were preventing council parting with that piece of land previously?
Through the chair, without having a look at the original DA as to why that block of land was kept to start with, it'd be hard to comment. However, it's without any great deal of certainty, I think that would have a fair, that would be a fair reason why it was kept.
Okay, so if I could ask in the investigation, obviously it would be in council interest to know that if this works or some type of work is done, it will then put this in a position that council could discuss whether the whole of it or part of it or those circumstances, because of that, and that's what I understood, council, getting at, possibly to sell this land if we can do this, but we need to know as part of the investigation that that's actually the case. Because otherwise we may be doing nugatory work for no reason, and no financial benefit.
I agree with Councillor Kevin. I think that we need to understand more about this, and I think that's fairly well near the full report of council prior to any further consideration of the budget. And that should also include what the utility of this will be and frankly what the priority is.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand that this is on the northern side, but the block opposite on the southern side, which the water course also goes through. I could be wrong, but I thought it was a DA already approved for that block, which would have similar issues to this block that we're discussing. That may be worth looking at, but the original water issue there was at the road on Tasman Street. The low point, quite a causeway, but it was the different floodway, whatever way you want to look at it. It had since been modified and rectified, and I don't think there's any record of any water issues there since that work was done. So, and the water course is on probably the southwestern corner of the block, and 3/4 of the block would be affected. So I think it is worth worth looking at for sure. Whether it's used, council, keep it for future aged care facilities or, whether we put it on the market, that'd be a matter for council to forward. But there are several uses for it. I don't think it would be a significant cost in having it suitable for a DA and quite a few issues, quite a few ways of using it. Yeah. So I'm happy to get further information in the report. I think it's a good idea, but certainly something we should look at.
Anyone else want to speak to this amendment? Councillor Tucker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just the original motion from Councillor McCarthy didn't refer to moving or altering the alignment. It was just about cementing or piping. So, however, I think it is useful to look at options. So whether realigning it might increase the area available to be sold or developed, I think is useful to look at both options. And Councillor McKibben is absolutely correct that the whole purpose of looking at this is to get rid of a liability and to get some income for it. It may not be a lot of income, but at least we would no longer have maintenance responsibility for it. So yeah, exactly how we get there, I'm not too fussed about, but that is the purpose of the motion.
And through the chair, just the council thought of just putting it on the market. Is that an option?
Yes, I think we discussed that previously a month or so ago, and I think that is an option worth reporting back on.
Okay, so thank you. I'll take that on board as part of the report.
Not even an amendment that we just put it in the market.
We've got to deal with the amendment first. You can foreshadow it now.
Can I foreshadow that?
It's okay. Councillor McCarthy.
With my motion, I didn't intend to relocate the watercourse like councillor Tremblay was. All I was getting at, what I submitted was you have a block of land down there that could be utilised. We are out of self-care, independent living unit blocks. But you can't determine that until this block becomes serviceable. So you can't say that that's what you're going to do, because you don't know, the council of the day might say no. So all I'm getting at is that I put this up, it's serviced on the eastern end with sewer and water. I think the power can be taken along, but the block sits there as a liability. I think Councillor McKechnie brought it up that it was to be tidied up in November. We were sure it was going to be done in December. It was done at the end of January. So you can see how big a liability. It's a hard thing to do. The block sits there useless to anyone. It can be filled a little bit, being above one of the houses that are further down along that same way. But it's all starting to get out of hand with wanting someone to relocate the watercourse. And as far as the watercourse, it's an unnamed watercourse. And if anyone knows anything about the watercourses, and when Morse Group is built in Bathurst, it's over Jordan Creek, and it was done recently. And you go right up Rankin Street where the RSL pub, and all that is boxed. So this is not something that's just we are doing as a one-off. Jordan Creek was a named watercourse in Bathurst, and it has buildings over the actual creek. So please, we're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here with moving amendments and things like that. All we're asking to see what it is, to get a costing on putting the concrete drain on the block to be able for this block to be usable for what the council of the day deems to what it wants to do with it.
Councillor McCarthy. You already got to go. All right. I've already accepted. All right. I'll now put the amendment. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4. Against? The amendment is lost. We'll now revert to the original amendment. Amendment.
I'd like to put that foreshadowed amendment forward that council list the land at Tasman Street for sale without having to add any additional cost to council by doing reports and water courses or drainage.
So you can set it in this list,
Just
this
list
property
it.
for sale.
For sale as is.
Okay, do you have a second for that amendment? No, amendment, that amendment has lapsed. We now revert to the original recommendation. With that minor amendment so the council obtained costings for the 23-24 budget for the cementing or piping of the drain top end of the western part of the block known as 28 Tasman Street Oberon.
I propose an amendment. Another amendment, sorry.
Let's have a moment, please, council. Still trying to do with council.
Done one left. 1.5 laps. Second, speak quick.
Everyone's got their voices to me.
Oh, look. I agree.
Motion would be in two parts, Mr. Mayor. The first part would be the council investigate the market value of 28 Tasman Street, Oberon, if it was sold in its current extant state. Two would be simultaneously council obtain costing for the cementing of or for the piping / cement culvert / cementing of the drain top on the western end of the block known as 28 Tasman Street, Oberon. Three would be general manager report back to council on the findings of 1 and 2 above. Oh, sorry, maybe 3. Instead of the 3, we have the general manager provide also provide advice on the market value of 28 Tasman Street should the works in 2 above be performed. And then we have 4, which is report back to council. Sorry, I got it in the wrong order. I'll try to encompass everything. Know whether it's value for money.
From 1, 2, and 3 above.
Yes, thank you. You want me to go?
Happy there, councillor Jim?
Should the works in two above be performed? I'm happy now.
Do I have a second? That's the Graham. You
think that
I think we've had enough discussion on this issue.
Since it's cost benefit analysis, you can't do something with it, but.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Tugger?
Thank you. I would have seconded it myself if I was allowed to, if I would have given it to the seconder, but it does better reflect what I was trying to get at, so I'm happy to support it.
All right, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Hayden is against.
I'm lost.
That means you're for or against. I'll take that as a positive vote. You have your hand up.
Yes, it is.
So that the amendment is passed unanimously, it now becomes a motion. All those in favour? Pass unanimously.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mayor,
Councillor.
for persevering us. I think we got to the right place.
I think we did too. Sometimes it's not.
So I think we're in this way.
All right, councillor and delegates report. The Central New South Wales Joint Organisation Board meeting on the 23rd of February. Recommendations that council received and note reports from the mayor and the Central on the Central West Joint Organisation Board meeting held on the 23rd of February 2023. Councillor McKibben. Councillor Hayden. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm more than happy to move the recommendation as I was there in another hat. And it's very pleasing to see that Lithgow has now joined the JO, which is fantastic. And obviously up in Quarry's an associate member, but and that I note that you are leading the charge, Mr. Mayor, on the transition to sustainable, secure, affordable energy future. A big job.
It's a long title and I get it wrong every time.
I had to read it. I have it. Knew it was energy, but I was so. Yes, I think the benefits of obviously Oberon's membership are considerable. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I just want to mention one thing. In the commentary section of the second paragraph, Mr. Richard Colbert here, who's the CEO of the Rural Doctors Network. He has a doctorate himself, but he's not a medical doctor. He had some particularly interesting views on the New South Wales health system and how it needs to be structured. Whether or not he gets traction, I don't know. And I think he'll get a lot of support from the organisation. He said his view is that when you put the patient at the centre of everything, you end up with the best outcome. It's not the health system with New South Wales health was they don't. Interesting. I hope it gets where he wants to retake the New South Wales health system. Any other councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is passed. Item 1102, Black Springs Community Association. Recommendations of council receive and note the Black Springs Community Association delegates report for the meeting held on the 3rd of February 2023. Councillor Hayden, Councillor McKibben, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, just a normal monthly report with special note there about the treasurer and the quality and professionalism of the information that the treasurer provides in doing the report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm more than happy to second that and agree with the comments made by Councillor Hayden. And still, the health issue remains this burning issue about a mobile tower and planning access and a reasonable wait from Crown Land authorities for the erection of such a tower.
Well, it's actually by part.
Sorry, by part. Setting the rental.
Any other councillors? Councillor McCarthy.
Second last dot point, the committee wishes to repairs and painting to the kitchen hall. Is that no cost to council?
That's right.
That was a resolution brought forward and we've spoke about that on council. I think that was last November. There was a $5,000 credit that was given to Black Springs. They hadn't had the time to do the updates on the kit and now they're progressing to do it with them.
So it's how that community ran, or is it?
No, they've already, that it's just a couple of years old. Matt can fill you in. if you like.
That money was provided to them a number of years back, so we're getting out, filling that agreement, as part of that, invoice, so they will be doing anything at no cost to council.
It's all that, thank you.
Any other comments? Put the motion, all those in favour? Passed. Item 12.1, the Heritage Committee meeting, the 27th of February. Recommendation is that the minutes of the Heritage Committee held on the 27th of February 2023 be received as information. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Tucker, Councillor McCarthy.
It's pretty straightforward. The pleasing one is the recognition of Ramsgate to the owners and what they've done. And I believe yourself and Mr. Snowden are going to give a plaque from the National Trust for their effort. Thank you.
Councillor Tucker.
I'm happy to add this to that, thank you.
Just to follow what Councillor McCarthy said, that'll be on the 17th of April. I've got some details. I'll put them in the paper and make all councillors to attend. Any other councillors? The motion, all in favour? Motion carried. Item 12.2, the local emergency management committee, the recommendations of council receive and note the minutes of the local emergency management committee meeting held on the 13th of February 2023. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trimble. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendations of the report and the minutes, and it was a very thorough meeting and minutes of work. Thank you.
Councillor Trimble.
I have nothing to that.
Anyone else? Put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimously. Item 12.3, the Oberon Sports Facility Committee meeting. Recommendation is that council receive and note the minutes of the Oberon Sports Facility Committee held on the 15th of February 2023. Councillor Hayden and other council, please. Councillor Trimble. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation here, and it's quite a thorough report. I did note there was some questions in there about line marking, etc., and indoor sports facility. Thank you.
Councillor Trimble.
I'm happy to move the seconded. It was a good meeting. There's a lot of work being done, and a lot of people around and supporting bodies that are quite happy with how fast we're getting along with the problems that they presented to us, and I think so we're just getting sorted.
Yeah, I can't hear you, councillor.
Just under the general manager, if I may, Mr. Mayor, is there any money left over from the grandstand that was done in the back of the grandstand? I thought we were doing that. Other end that Councillor McKechnie raised, I thought we were going to fill it in as well.
Through the chair, I think you'll find that the braces have been put in, they're having trouble accessing the same material to get it in place.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, it forms part of that grant.
I'm pleased to see that the attendance from the various sporting groups has improved dramatically since the last meeting.
Very high.
Very good. All right. Sorry. Put the motion, all in favour? Motion is passed. Right. Report of decision, item 13.1, the 2023-24 IPART rate peak determination. recommendation is that council adopt the IPART determined rate figure of 3.7% for the 2023-24 financial year. Mover and seconder, councillor Hayden,
I
councillor
think I'll have a different one.
Councillor Hayden, seconder, councillor McKibben. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I think it's important. I'm very happy to move this recommendation, but I think it's of utmost importance that we accept the rate peg this year of 3.7 due to financial situations, rising costs and inflation that have been hitting our community, and for council to actually be financially viable. I think it's extremely important that we go with the 3.7% that IPART has determined.
Councillor Hayden, councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, look, I think in the circumstances that we need to go with 3.7%. Though if I could, do you, Mr. Mayor, page 87, Roman 3, fixed overheads, and above Roman 2 and above Roman 1. Obviously, our employee costs going up more than 3.7. Our goods and materials are certainly going up more than 3.7, noting construction materials 11.4. And then in 3, we look at insurance at 9.4, audit fees 18%, gas 14%, and electricity 5%. But we've just been advised that electricity price is likely to go up 23%. And the fraud and governance controls additional 10,000. We're only a 3.7% determination. Through you, Mr. Mayor, can the director advise us as to how we are as a council going to be able to absorb those additional costs? And I indicated just a minute ago that the electricity is actually underdone considerably as looking at those 23.
Yeah, through the chair, there's definitely headwinds, that we're facing, and the team are looking at the entire operations to look for efficiencies in areas that we can absorb from our shops that we are looking that are coming. We're constantly communicating with our counterparts, other councils, to understand how they are shaping up and trying to deal with some of these things that we are seeing. But at this point in time, we are working through a budget that is very tight and trying to build in shock absorbers where we can. That's all in the planning that we're doing now, but we really do need to look at efficiencies where possible to protect ourselves from some of these things that we see on the horizon. That's how we're approaching it. But we do know that there's a lot of volatility there, and that's the baseline of what we're doing at the moment.
So if it may be something that has to be researched. But leaving aside our, I suppose, our capital grants side and even our operational grants, to what effect will these cost increases in a quantum figure have on our 2023-24? And that may be preemptive to ask that, but I know we're looking at a 3.7%, so we must have been some factoring in. But with these costs, is that quantum wise, is that we're looking at say a $200,000 a year figure?
Through the chair, difficult
blowout. Yes.
Yeah. I think just we've really taken a deep dive into the discretionary side of the budget, that we're fully stripping away grant, looking at where there are costs that we can't control, such as audit related costs, mandates on data security, those types of things. But then looking at our operational capacity within our facilities, what cost saving can be undertaken there, the cost efficiencies through green energy and other grants that will. So it's difficult to quantify for sure, but that is how we're approaching the budget. We're really digging through the discretionary element and going down to that granular level of where we can really achieve some efficiency saving through the things that we know on the horizon. But I can't give you a figure at this point, but that's the approach that we're taking.
So again, through you now, is it likely that you may have to come back to council and say, in order to be able to accommodate these additional expenditures within 23-24, these are areas we may actually have to. Grim?
Yes, through the chair, there's definitely, the next stage of this would be fitting everything in, the wish list, efficiencies, and coming back to council with a trade-off of the discussion, that cuts across all the things that we do within the community, and I think essentially require discipline going forward from staff and all elements of council, so that's what we're preparing to do, is come back and have that type of discussion with council.
Well, I'm happy, I'm looking at Roman 1, 2, and 3, obviously, it's going to be quite a considerable budget all of it. But I'm, on the basis that I'm more than happy to, secondly, this recommendation. Thank you.
Even some of the other things that we're looking at is just how some of these grants apply to the organisation. Can we look to change the front loading way that grants are given to us, not in a retrospective nature, so that will help us, deliver in our operating cash as well. But we're really trying to rip the entire operation apart and see how we can plan for this as best we can.
Thank you. I'm very cognizant of the work that the corporate services director and our financial controller are doing in this aspect, in this area. So I commend them on those very proactive activities.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment, which is, and I apologise to the finance staff in advance of this. The amendment is that council prepared 2 options for the 2023-24 integrated planning and reporting document, based on rate increases of 3.7% and 2.2%.
Oh. 3.7 to 2.3.
The increase rather than based on rate increase.
No, directly, the original motion. I think then that's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
but then the other option of 2.2 is not a
Yeah,
rate increase.
correct. Right, do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Councillor McCarthy? Councillor McCarthy, you're speaking?
Well, I haven't spoken to it yet. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Yeah, look, I certainly recognise the pressures facing the budget, and I recognise that it is going to be more difficult in preparation and delivery of services if we receive less rate income. On the other hand, I think we also need to understand that there's a lot of people in the community suffering as well. They are also experiencing high inflation, high mortgage costs, high power costs, and at least going for a lower increase will, if nothing else, it will show that we are understanding of their difficulties and doing whatever small amount we can to assist. And I'd also mention that the long-term financial plan prepared last year would assume at that time a figure for 23-24 of 2.2%. So if all else remains the same, then adopting 3.7 would simply either increase the surplus or decrease the deficit compared with the figures that we were using last year. And I would also mention that following our rates workshops, there was a bit of a poll where only 4 councillors responded, but 3 of the 4 councillors recommended a 2.2% increase, and that is what I would feel like us to at least consider it come budget time. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Felby?
This is only calling for a report. There's a lot of people out there that are locked in with their wages that are only at 2% over many, many years. And it's not going to hurt to just get these figures. So yeah. Although we're saying it's all doom and gloom, but with efficiencies in some of these grants that we get, we can actually pull ourselves out of the doldrums. But anyway, we'll get this report if this amendment gets up.
Anyone else wish to speak to this amendment or against it? Councillor McKean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the amendment, basically on the grounds that Councillor Tucker has already outlined without going over them. Basically, the rate workshop, we discussed several options and there was some support for the 2.2 increase only. And I was one of those, and I still am. There's a lot of anxiety in the community out there at the moment. There's not just ours, but all communities with the rising energy costs, the rising rates, and the cost of living. You know, it's to say that inflation's running at 7% is really hard when your grocery bill and your energy costs have gone up around 20%. So I think if we can have a look at it and just come back with a report and just see what the actual figures are. I know when we did the rate workshop, there wasn't a drastic difference between some of the options. So I think it's well worth looking at.
Anyone else wish to speak to this?
Mayor, I think the things that you've been outlining, everyone would sort of agree, we don't want that, nobody wants to have an increase in rates. But at the same time, all those cost increases the council's bearing as well. And it's pretty hard to get away from that. You know, saying, you know, households are, but the council probably even more so with big projects and wages particularly for the predicted increase. So I'm not that interested in getting the 2.2 report.
Councillor McKibben?
Mr. Mayor, just ask how much work, for you, Mr. Mayor, how much work is involved in doing the 2.2 scenario?
Through the chair, you may recall last year when we provided the 0.7 and then 2.1 large-scale documents. So it is a reasonable amount of work for the finance staff to put the entire suite together. If that's see that for last year, because that does flow through to all of your revenue policy in the long term. So it is a decent piece of work.
So could you estimate now, maybe?
But I think multiple hundreds of pages of figures are going to that point.
I mean, normally I would obviously speak to adopt the lower 2.2, but I think the situation, as I think Councillor Graham explained eloquently, is that these costs are itemised on 87 are fully going up, increasing much more quickly than was anticipated, I think, last year when we first looked at this. And when we had the workshop, and we've now got the figures in front of us for those increases. As I said, normally I would be on the area of the lower, but I think in the circumstances, I think it is warranted that we look at the 3.7. And again, I don't want to put council staff to the added time expense, especially as we're coming towards the end of the financial year, of doing all that, of doing 2 sets of documents like they did last time, which wasn't a considerable amount. And I know we haven't got a figure for the amount now, because I'm assuming it's about 2 to 3 weeks extra work, maybe. So I would speak against the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Councillor. What?
I very sympathetic to the view that our constituents are feeling pain, but the 3.7 to me is, I think we have to do that. If we don't do it this year, we may well have to try and catch up even further in the future. It simply reflects the value of money, and the value of money is going down by well more than 3.7%. So I'm going to not support the amendment either.
I'm going to speak against the amendment as well. Last year we had 2 points. We took a natural loss against our revenue of about 6% in order to maintain services. This year, the difference between the inflation rates, that's how measured by CPI or the local government index, is about 5%. Giving us somewhere between 8 and 11% loss over 2 years. I, like the deputy mayor and others, believe that 3.7 is a low figure of what the inflation rate is. Sorry, against the inflation rate, and going for 2.1% is putting the basic services and many of the basic activities that we provide for the community at risk. It is 3.7 is significantly less than the current inflation rates, no matter how you measure them. And so as I said, I would speak against this particular amendment. If everyone's had a chance to speak, I'll put the motion, put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillors Tucker, McCarthy and McKechnie against. All other councillors. Motion, the amendment is defeated 6-3. We now revert to the original recommendation that council adopt the IPART determined rate of 3.7% for the 23-24 financial year. All those in favour? Councillors McKibben, Trembath, Graham, Watt, Hayden and Cullen against. Councillors Tucker, McCarthy and McKechnie. Motion is passed. All right, item 13.2, creation of a future of the town improvement levy project. The recommendation is that council determine a list of options based on up to 5 scenarios or further modelling as part of the ongoing review of the town improvement levy. Note that the outcome of the review will form part of the 24-25 operational plan deliberations and updated community engagement strategy to guide the consultation process for the review of the town improvement levy. So movement second, please. Councillor Hayden, Councillor McKibben, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendations.
Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second this, and I'm assuming that the list of options that we are going to put to the community will come back to this council for final determination before they do.
I think that the answer is that we will see those, the extra modelling from that list of that menu. The options to the community consultation.
Only because I thought, I made quite a few comments in relation to page 104 and 105, which I had moved as the director of corporate services and the finance controller. Just because I think when we're doing that, we need to clarify those a bit better and make the option much clearer than what's currently stated in this explanation. I realise this is what this says. It hasn't come up to that also the 5 or 6 scenarios or whatever we're going to put yet, but I do think we need to. There has to be a lot of work done to make it so people can understand it apart from anything else. On that basis, I'm more than happy to take it.
Councillor Tucker. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, just a query on recommendation 1. So it says the council determine the list of options based on up to 5 scenarios. Are we being asked to decide on those 5 scenarios now?
I think that's what the recommendation is telling us.
Well, I'm happy enough with it, providing that at least one and preferably 2 of those scenarios are the options under the phased removal of the TI, which is what I favour, particularly the second one, but I'm happy to look at the first one as well. The other errors on page 104, 105, one is removal of TI, which I don't support doing all in one go simply because of the big impact that doing it all at once can have on some of the other rate categories, and to ease the pain on those categories by staging it over a number of years. And I also personally don't support expanding the TI zone because we've already seen a few years ago how hard it was when council attempted to do that. And it's a lot of work to do that if the ultimate aim is to reduce and ultimately eliminate the TI funding. So, but providing the 2 of the scenarios phased removal, then I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Councillor Hayden.
The two options that I would like kept would be in the expanding TI zone under the 5-kilometre radius from the Oberon post office, except for taking in the other new estates, therefore reducing some of the fees on current payers. And the second option would be including the entire LGA, therefore reducing the impact on the current payers. They're the 2 options I prefer.
Come back to you. Yeah. Councillor Graham, Councillor Watt, do you have a view?
Mayor, I would like Councillor Tucker, I'd like to go for the phased removal. And in the extent, if we're looking at expanding, I'd go for the whole.
Mr. Mayor, I was of the opinion from the wording of recommendation 1 that we're not determining list. We're determining a list of options based on up to 5 scenarios. We're not doing that at the moment. What we're doing is instructing council to go away and come up with a paper that will provide.
I think what we're doing here is providing the guidance to the staff, which type of scenarios to look at.
Right, so I have sent a paper through to through to the Director of Corporate Services, actually listing the scenarios as I saw them. I don't know if you want me to read that or whether you wish me to go through that. What I did is I identified them as 1 to 5 to make it easier. 1 was removal of the TI completely. I don't have to comment on that because that speaks for itself. 2, which was adding it back into the ad valorem of ordinary rates as per TI category. I said this was unclear what this meant because it only referred to residential. This needed greater clarity as to what this meant, and I think the Director of Corporate Services has agreed with me. It wasn't explained very well on the paper. The 3rd was adding it back into the ad valorem of ordinary rates, percentage of ordinary rate category. Again, I think the explanation needed to be better. It needed to explain that TO would no longer be a town improvement fund. The fund could be used for projects throughout the LGA, not just Oberon Township. That wasn't explained in the explanation. The 4th was adding it back into the base rate of ordinary rates. And Sharon, if you, I might have copied this to you, I think, so you would have had this wording. And And again, this, as in scenario 3, this wouldn't mean that TI would no longer be a town improvement fund, but the fund would be used for projects throughout the LGA, not just the Oberon Township. And then the 5th was expanding the TI zone, and I said this had to be a 5-kilometre radius, which we need to be adjusted to take account of new subdivision area that's straddled or just outside the 5-kilometre radius. And then within that, there are 2 options. And they needed to be kept. There's a standardized TI, and there was reducing the TI for existing people and spreading it more across the new and the existing and the new, so that and that could be done several ways. And then the phased removal of the TI would apply to a number of the scenarios above. It wasn't just confined to one. So I think that needs to be. I'm not sure. I don't think I said this to all councillors, but I certainly said it. And I think in the context of that, I had the 5 scenarios. I'm more than happy that that's how we look at it. And again, that will need some finessing, but that's my position. And I think it's probably the position that came out of the rates workshop. I tried to be even-handed on that. But I think the explanations needed a bit more, and we just need to work. I think the Director of Corporate Services sent me an email back, and I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to read it. Apologies.
Through the chair, that was sent to the council, you know, that response.
Right. No, oh, sorry, I'm looking away.
So they did
And so they have mine and. Okay, so that's as I said. Maybe that's the start to the start at working, because I thought that was a better explanation. I'm more whatever.
I think that's not an unreasonable view. I sort of approach it slightly differently. I think there is. First option is status quo. And we know the exits are there. Complete removal, which I think is unacceptable, because that is depriving hamstringing the ability of council to do capital works by over $500,000 a year, increasing. But I think the phase removal of TI becomes a subset of almost every other option. And there really are the 3 options of adding it back into the ad valorem as part of the process of redistributing the rate. And then there is the issue of expanding the TI zone. And all of those items there, whether it's 5 kilometres, whether it's the whole LGA, is just expanding the TI zone. Now, the trick in this is how deep you dive into the analysis, because we know what some of the effects are from the modelling that has been done, and it needs to be very subtly dealt with to make sure that there is no glaring inequities for any small groups or individuals.
So I think an error on my behalf, if you had a rate is that there maybe needs to be 6 scenarios, because the one that I actually didn't include was keep the current status quo. There's probably got to be 6, so if I want to push it to 6.
Let's just move the top one and add that as your number 5.
So if someone doesn't mind a small amendment, mover, the 6 scenarios, that might be better.
It's all right.
Through the chair, if it's 5, if it's what staff are asking for is a level of direction that council want to see us progress with in order to look at these functionality around the town.
Yeah, and through the chair, for us, the work considered all of them, to be honest, but they're all so I guess it's confirming that direction, streamlining the key areas we want to look at. The work for us is all the way there with this.
But basically, you put down everything you're doing anyway. But I think that, as we discovered with the initial work that was so well done, that there were certain segments that were disadvantaged quite substantially. Not huge numbers, but we need to even that out.
Through the chair, can I ask a question? That the report outlines a number of scenarios. does councillors believe that those scenarios, noting what the directors just said, that there is a combination of pretty much all these things in here? Is there any others that councillors believe that we've missed? And if not, we'll just use this as our base.
Status quo,
Start that.
the current status quo, that's the only one.
I think that that's a given, but yes, I'll take it.
We know what the answer is.
Yeah, and after I looked at that, I came to 5, so if we add that, that's 6 scenarios, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I fear that instead of reducing our 10 down to 5, we might be going up.
We're 10.
No, I think there's sub elements within some of those. They're not absolutely separate scenarios, there's sub elements, right? So they've got to be considered.
No, absolutely.
So you happy with the services?
Yes, no, that's the direction that we're working towards anyway. But it's just sort of understanding the nuances in each of those, because as you say, that once you deep dive, you get to smoothing the transition, there may be unintended consequences and the categories that we need to work into how we can best distribute this in a fair way if this was the way to pathway forward. So that is the work we've already started, and happy with that outcome.
Very brief. Requesting the scenarios, so you want 5 scenarios, that's fine. Some of us don't have a business degree in finance, and we'd like one line with just simple, his principles, keeping it really simple, and don't give too much for us to select from, because we're going to keep going around in circles. What we actually need to do is get to a decision and say, this is what you've got to choose from. I'm giving you 5 things. I want each of you councillors to pick it, then get it down to the base amount, and then say, right, now you just get to pick off these 3 until it's finalised, because otherwise we're just going to keep doing this for another year.
I'm going to propose an amendment, and that is that part 1 is that the council utilise the list of the identified scenarios for further modelling, and basically the rest of it as it stands.
I think my paper might have explained the scenario a little better. But I'm not happy with that.
Through the chair, we're looking for, if this is the right process that council is comfortable for staff to continue on, when we are in fact moving the goalposts a bit close to where we need to be.
Yeah, that's what, so, and it's okay, I'm happy.
So I've moved that amendment. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Trimbar.
I
don't have anything.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a further question sort of relating both to that amendment and just the report in general. Does this report mean that we have already made the decision not to start reducing the TI fund in the coming financial year, or will that still be an option come budget?
Through the chair, that is a decision that council need to make.
Do we need to vote now?
Through the chair, no.
Okay, that's all.
No, it's just 24, 24.
Yes.
24, 25.
But I'm not expecting councillors likely to want to do anything in 23, 24, but it is still an option available to them.
Through the chair, the likely in our documents are documents that will be resolved by council. And as such, they will make that decision at that time. What we are saying.
That won't precede any of those options.
Correct.
Yes, look, I'm just, I'm just applying to, councillor Hayden. When these come back to us, they have to be in a form that we're going to actually go for community consultation. So they will have to be simple enough, and each of these scenarios will have to be explained in a manner that the community can understand. So that's what's going to come to us as council to say, yes, we're happy for these 5, 6 scenarios to go out for community consultation. So I think that should satisfy your requirement about simplicity, because if it's got to be considered by the community, we know, we're dealing with all spectrum in the community, and so,
Thanks, councillor McKibben, I understand that, but you keep throwing in more scenarios.
30. Anyone else want to speak to this amendment? No? I'll put it, all those in favour? Pass unanimously. Amendment becomes the motion, all those in favour? Pass unanimously, thank you, councillor. 13.3, policy review 1120 signs as remote supervision. And the recommendation is that the revised policy 1120 signs as remote supervision is placed on public exhibition for a period of 28 days. At the expiration of the exhibition period, should no submissions be received, revised policy 1120 signs as remote supervision will be adopted as presented. At the expiration of the exhibition period, should its submissions be received, an updated report will be presented to council. Move and second to councillor Hayden, councillor McKibben, councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendations due for an update.
Thank you. Councillor McKibben.
Yes, I'm happy to second this, but I note that the numbering on the policy on page 110 goes a bit astray. We go from 4 policy principles on page 109 to 6 and 6. 6 accountability roles and responsibilities, 6 related documents.
Through the chair, you've also missed Jordan.
Yeah, right.
That's noted, and we'll fix that problem.
Now, I noticed that there were no markups. So I assume this is exactly as it was before.
That's right. Through the chair, apologies for no markups, but because of the changes, we've just put a new policy up and we put the old policy on page 112.
Right. I didn't compare it word for word, but I'm assuming that not.
Through the chair, it is it's a new write-up. It details today's season
And includes an attachment.
and includes an attachment.
Thank you.
Any other councillors?
I'm happy to second.
Right, I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Pass unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.4, stronger country communities, R5 grant for code contribution. The recommendation is to provide funding from section 711 Urban Development Contribution Plan, brackets open space, in the amount of $15,000 ex GST for council's contribution to project 4. That's Oberon, come on and let's play accessible playground. Moving to second to councillor Hayden, councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation as part of the grant. Agreement, $15,000 is required, and as long as we've got the finances there, I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's like a very appropriate source for council's contribution.
Thank you. Any other councillors? I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Passed unanimously. Section 356 donation request. Breaks 2 parts. The recommendations. Recommendation is first. Well, we'll do the first one. No, I'm going to do a separate recommendation. So we can.
See,
So
Could you get the door, please?
splitting these, so
Yeah.
you only get it taken out once, councillor.
Through the chair, that's very nice of you, Mr. Mayor. But the council has a pecuniary interest in the report. not part thereof or unfortunately, you can't be part pregnant.
Well, all right. I'll accept your greater experience with these issues. You might have to go for a long.
Don't forget.
break.
We won't do anything.
We're gonna have to discuss this separately anyway.
There is no problem with you doing that, it's just the procedure.
That's all right, that's fine.
I'll go with that.
All right, council, the recommendation, council consider the application submitted by the Oberon Uniting Church and the Oberon Golf Club, and encourage applicants to apply for the financial year 2023-24 round of section 356 applications for further ongoing in maintaining the grounds. So mover, segment, councillor Hayden. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Hayden.
Can I speak on both at the same time?
I
I think it'll be easy.
I think it'd be easier if we deal with the golf club first, and then we'll go on to the Uniting Church.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to support the recommendation, and I'm extremely confident that we should support the golf club in their request. It has been a significantly wet year. There has been a lot more mowing and fuel use than previous years of drier weather, so I'm extremely happy to support the request from the golf club.
Councillor McCarthy?
So what are we doing? Just the golf club by itself?
We'll do them separately, so we don't get the issues confused.
On the golf club request. I'm happy with the golf club request.
Councillor Tucker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not happy with the golf club request, but I oppose the donation. We normally our 356 donations go for particular projects or events. This is an even greater donation to ongoing maintenance costs. We already give a large annual donation of fuel and water. We buy up to 20,000 litres of raw water, which, and I assume that's $2 or $3 a kilolitre. Yes. So by my estimate, it's something in the order of $40,000 to $60,000 worth of water. Or if I got that wrong.
Yeah, through the chair, raw water is approximately 60%.
Is that all? Okay, I assume it was more than that.
It is raw water though.
Yeah, I understand that. But still, that is substantial. Plus, we already give $5,000 worth of fuel per year. And those combined are a lot larger than the rent we pay. And I just think we're digging a hole for ourselves if we give further donations to a club that is where it is just for ongoing operations and maintenance. So I oppose the increase in the fuel donation.
Councillor Pember?
I too, as Councillor Tucker has outlined, oppose the coming back for a further sum of money. Then everyone could start to do that and apply for something, and then, gosh, we've run out and we need to come back and ask for more.
One of the issues with this request is it's not for a finite amount. We don't know at the end of the financial year exactly how much it's going to be. So, if council was to make a decision, that's why I think it should be a finite amount, not an open-ended amount.
Through the chair, that was the kind of question that I asked of them. So in a call that I made to the president for this part of the bill, and I would be of the belief that they would not come back for any further and any payment made to the end of the financial year will be borne by the golf club.
And the other question I have is, next year, for instance, we don't know that there's going to be any reduction in fuel costs. There may be a marginal reduction. And so when they do their section 356 grants, are they going to be asking for 10,000 next year rather than the 5,000? And, you know, part of the issue as I see it this year is what they've said, they have to mow the fairways, etc., far more than normal because of the wet weather. But I'm also assuming that part of the problem is that the fuel costs have nearly doubled, not quite, over the last 2 years. So both of those factors together, I'm assuming, are the major reason for the increase. And I obviously have some sympathy, but we also have to bear in mind the other issues that council has, including that we're only increasing rates possibly next year by 3.7%. We're going to have to make savings ourselves, and we've got all these additional costs ourselves, like our own fuel costs have gone up, our own insurance costs have gone up, all our expenses have gone up, and we're going to have to make savings to meet this 3.7% peg. So it'd be my view that, you know, and I'm saying this, I haven't formulated a mind on to put an amendment, but maybe we should go 50%, no more. I don't know.
My understanding is with the donations, we don't make donations to the golf club anymore. The rationale is that the water,
yeah,
and the fuel are actually line items in the budget.
Right,
And we have a lease, but the golf club leases that piece of crown land from us
for $1.
$416 a year, which is the minimum requirement for a lease.
So this is a separate donation. Sorry, this would be, and this part would be a nickel donation to the golf club. I don't know what's going to happen if I don't get it. They'll have to have some took reference or whatever. That is, you know, they look after Crown land on our behalf, thankfully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My inclination is to support it. I don't have, I think the golf club, and I'm certainly not a member, don't play golf, is an important asset to the community, and it provides a valuable service to a lot of people, as does the golf club itself. And I'm assuming that they are only asking for this because they fairly seriously need it. And I think the situation is exceptional. It has been exceptionally wet, and the spike in fuel prices as well would have made things very difficult for them. I'm assuming that they're only asking for this because you know, they really need the fund. So therefore, given that it's such a valuable community asset that is assistance to so many people, and because it is genuinely exceptional, in my opinion, that's why I'm inclined to support it. But I'd be happy to consider a reduced amount as well. But you know, still happy with the principle that we support it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the golf course is a wonderful amenity for the town. And I know council do support it vigorously in many ways. So I would support this at half the value. Bearing in mind that the golf club now have a licensed club which trades 7 days a week. We don't want every business coming and asking for 356 donations to maintain their operating profits and reduce their deficits or whatever. I think that probably sets a precedent for council, and I'd be mindful or cautious that way. But given the fact that council and council and trustees and the ground land and very well maintained and a great amenity to the town, I would support some kind of assistance, and this was a one-off that might fall down.
Yes.
I'll propose an amendment for this. How we do this, do we do one separate?
Just make it a separate meeting.
Yes. Recommendation 1.
Yeah.
The council consider the application from the Oberon Golf Club and agree and resolve to allocate maybe we say an amount of up to $3,000 in this financial year to assist the golf club. They're already,
Through the chair, it's already 4,800, up
that's what
to 3,000. You're just going to expend it in one hit. So if you're going that way, just say 3,000. You don't have to go up to, because we've already gone over that.
all right, $3,000. For fuel, yes, in this financial year, ending 30th of June 2023. And that this be noted as a one-off payment.
I'll second it.
Going to be encouraging them to buy.
Second.
Yeah, keep the second one. Well, I thought we were going to do 1 as the golf club, 2 as the church, and then 3 will be the encouragement.
So what we'll do, we will vote on this amendment. We will then go and discuss the Uniting Church.
Which we can bring Katie back in.
Katie can come back in, and when we.
No.
Oh, she can do that.
Hang on. Then we will have perhaps 2 amended items, and then we'll vote on them as a whole. Happy with that?
But through the chair, you've already resolved to separate them.
Well, we didn't resolve. I said I was going to keep them separately. Discussions.
Well, the council, I thought you had a resolution to separate the two.
I was on the move to resolve, but separate if you want.
We didn't move that.
And then
Discussed it.
Thank you. I
Hang on.
don't.
What we want to do is we'll deal with it then, and then foreshadow what the next process will be, which will be the Uniting Church. And so we will then have 2 amendments, perhaps, which we will treat as one, and then take a vote on that.
I would just like to speak to the amendment that Councillor McKibben is putting forward. I don't agree with the.
I haven't heard a second yet. I have.
I would like to speak, please. I don't agree with that amendment due to the fact that the RSL Club is also a licensed premises, which is not Crown land, has also put in under the 356 donation request previously, and they did not get an amendment or a reduction due to being a licensed premises. This is a Crown land. This is something that council would have to maintain if the golf club didn't have it. And this is just an exceptional circumstance, and it's just the one-off fuel allocation for the extensive weather. I don't support the alternative recommendation.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to speak against the amendment, but for different reasons. I recognise that it is an important community asset. And I would say that importance is already reflected in the large donations we already made, and there's not much more than the typical rent that we receive. And I'd also make the point that it's easy to say it's a one-off, but I would fear that it is likely to become an annual event, because I do expect that fuel costs are likely to stay a lot higher than they were when the lease was entered into, and I would guess that the same sorts of problems are likely to occur frequently, and so I oppose both the amendment and the original. Recommendation.
Anyone else? All right, I'll put the amendment. We got it up there, Sharon?
Through the chair, there's a procedural thing here that we need to get under control. The third thing is you are dealing with part of a resolution and then another part of a resolution and then turning it into a full resolution. A discussion around how you would like to see these, I think, needs to be dealt with as a number of recommendations within a suite. I understand you have part, but it's a nightmare for our minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I would propose that an amendment to recommendation one, that this recommendation be split into two. Council consider the application submitted by the Oberon Golf Club. Number one. Number two would be the council consider the application submitted by the Oberon Uniting Church.
So the chair, please. Just put up what I think you're trying to say. I didn't get the original mover of the motion. But I took it that you were talking about an amended motion based around dealing with the one at a time, golf club.
Yeah.
First. So you didn't move to deal with them separately, but you
No.
indicated you were dealing with them separately.
I was happy to
So I
do-
separated them as two motions,
So,
but I have no idea. who
So we have to- we have to-
was.
we have to-
I'm sorry,
we have to-
that was me.
I think we have to vote on that before we get to.
No, you can't. No, you've got an amendment. Excuse me, just let me keep going for a minute. So then you put up an amendment that's your amendment,
Yes.
Councillor McKibben, that says up to $3,000.
Yep.
And that needs to be noted as one off payment. We haven't voted on this as yet.
Yep.
And then the third separate resolution would be to do this for the United Church.
Yeah.
Is that what you
That
were
sounds-
discussing?
So I've amended my amendment is to amend what's currently there. In resolution one only, and that replaces what's there.
so that in effects nullify the application by the Uniting Church entirely.
But through the chair, what you'll have is two standalone resolutions, one for the golf club and one for the church.
Yeah. All right.
By separating the two, which is, as Sharon indicated.
I think you're right.
So if you separate the first one and deal with the golf club, you can now deal with the golf club
All right.
with that second, let's call it a generic option to encourage the person to do it. And then you can go to the next part and deal with that and encourage the second one.
So let's get back to the amendment that's on the table. It's been seconded by Councillor McKinney. So Councillor has spoken against it. Councillor Tucker has. Anyone else want to speak to this amendment? Okay.
You prefer add that third that you encourage to. Encourage the applicant to apply for the final.
But at the end,
Then we be going back to, we go back to one, is the golf club, two is the Uniting Church, and three is encouragement for the application. And then number one, you'll have the amendment from the council given. You dealt with it's item number one, that either gets up or done. Then you go with number two, which would be the Uniting Church, and you do with number three, which is the indoor. Yep. Wouldn't that be that profile that should be?
With the chair, that's absolutely the profile. However, you now have an amendment to the original recommendation that you need to sort out. So the easiest way to do that is to separate the two, deal with the golf club as a standalone resolution, and deal with the Uniting Church as a standalone.
All right.
A mover and a seconder be able to change the recommendation to 1, 2, and 3. Councillor Hayden is the original mover.
Then you're dealing with an amendment.
So we're dealing with them.
Yeah, I
So it's both the
stand that. The amendments in, if you peg them into 3 different activities. Like, first one was what councillor Hayden moved, then Andrew put an amendment in, so you should deal with that as number 1. 2, you should be dealing with the Uniting Church, and number 3, you should be dealing with the encouragement of the application. That's the way it should have been.
Yeah, the problem, Clive, is that the group of the Uniting Church and the golf club together in the first resolution.
You can change these recommendations.
all right. We haven't discussed it yet.
Prejudice in both.
Absolutely.
You now have a lawful amendment.
So are you happy there,
I'm happy.
mover and seconder?
I am, well, could I just ask who did second the original motion?
Yes, that's what my problem is.
I'll second the original one.
I'm happy.
I was worried on the second. Thank you.
Sorry. So we've now got this recommendation, it's there, you're both happy with that? Such,
I'm happy as the second, yes.
Yes.
everyone who's spoken has got the same views still? All right, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3,
So that is amendment.
4.
Yeah.
5, no, 4.
No, 1, 2, 3, 5, voting.
Five.
Five. And
That's 5, 3. All right, now, do we vote on this resolution now?
You can vote on this resolution.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so the amendment is now the motion, so all those in favour? Against? Tucker, Hayden and Trembach against, the rest are for, motion is passed.
They have an additional motion. With the mind that you.
Right.
How do we manage
I would propose a motion that the council consider the application submitted by the Oberon Uniting Church to be number 4. Recommendation 4,
Yeah,
and that 5 will be encourage the Uniting Church to apply in the financial year 2023-24 round of section 356 applications for further ongoing assistance in maintaining the ground. We have to put that because we put the same one.
Yep.
Golf club.
I'm happy to move that. Right, can I move the next one?
say it again?
Yeah, what is one and following?
Which is to support the $500.
Yes.
Haven't got one yet.
I'll second.
So,
I haven't actually seen the motion yet.
and the motion is that I have put is that we consider the application. It hasn't said we accept the application.
No, that's all. Well, let's see what it says.
Through the chair, that is the motion. There has been an amendment. The council support the $500.
Well, who seconded mine?
No, I want to see the motion.
All right, fine.
All right.
2 should be encouraged the Oberon Uniting Church to apply. Who dealt with that with it.
But that is
And then encourage the Oberon Uniting Church, if we don't approve the donation, we may not be encouraging.
Anyway, can the movers talk on it yet?
Okay, I think that should work. You moved it?
I've moved it.
I'm inclined.
You can vote.
I asked to move that.
But you had, in fact, you hadn't even seen the motion. Sorry.
No, but in our original motion, I moved both recommendations.
All right.
I said I'd be happy to move both, and I wanted to move both, and then they were split down in half.
But considering the application, which is part of the bill. All right, councillor Hayden, you've moved it. Councillor
I'll second.
Tremba, you're seconding it.
So they got churches.
This is considered the church.
Does consider mean approved?
Well, it might be disapproved. Make it,
Just-
but that's the.
Well,
Their
Yeah,
application is
I'm still
$500,
confused.
so why doesn't we move to the recommendation, change it to approved?
Haven't had a chance to do anything.
Speak.
Well, that's why I said, I used the word.
Councillors. Councillor Hayden has the floor. You speak to the motion.
Right, I would like to recommend that the Oberon Council approve the recommendation and the application from the Uniting Church for the work in kind for the value of $500 and it be ongoing due to the fact that the Methodist, the Old Wesleyan Cemetery is at the entrance of our community, and an 80-year-old man has been maintaining it, and I just think that it would be in Oberon Council's best interest to support this. It is not a church donation, it is cemetery. Right. What now?
Just read it.
Yeah.
Okay. Lauren, sorry,
Yeah.
Lauren?
I too support the donation to the church as clearly outlined by Councillor Hayden. Is the entrance to town, and just like a golf club, the cemetery is very important to our community as well, because they recognise people who died. And it's not a church donation per se, it is actually the maintenance of some ground.
Okay, Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Although this is a cemetery and there's grounds, all our other churches have cemeteries, and there are a large number of cemeteries within our Oberon Council area. Some of them further non-denomination. Will, through Mr. Mayor, like the general manager, what is the likelihood that this will set a precedent? We have to show some equilibrium and provide in-kind services to all the cemeteries in our council area, or at least to those in the Oberon Township area. Noting that we already do some work, I think, on other cemeteries at the moment.
Through the chair, the fact that they're asking for a donation means that you're going to, in fact, look at them on the merits each time, but it could absolutely. The concern that I sit here going is that, does that also then provide an obligation for us to do this ongoing to something that we, to know something that we don't own?
Well, I understood from the movers position that that's certainly what's foreshadowed. That it will be ongoing.
Through the chair, a donation of $500, and I'd have to be, would it be one director or?
It certainly wouldn't be a great deal. At least probably up to 2 and 3.
Sorry, I didn't hear all that. If the director could speak up.
It wouldn't cover
Wouldn't cover a what?
a cut of the whole cemetery.
What, $500? Yes, it would.
I think you might get maybe 2 to 3 probably mows out of that $500. That's my estimate.
So.
Because I finished, I'm still contemplating.
Isn't this cemetery listed on our LEP as a heritage cemetery? So it's a bit of an obligation.
All right.
That isn't it?
Councillor McKechnie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm opposing the grant or the donation. Council has a history of resisting donating to religious institutions. This is obviously a licensed institution that's applying. They've got an ABN and a GST registered. It's not a cemetery that's currently in operation, it's closed. So I think we should stick with the status quo and not make donations one-off or the like for religious organisations.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also oppose with, for similar reasons to what I said before. It is a donation request, not for a specific event or project. It's to assist with ongoing operations and maintenance. And I also agree with Councillor McKechnie's point that it is a donation that would be going to a religious organisation which council hasn't done in the past. But my biggest concern of all is that a donation of $500 will be gone before you can blink. And I can just see it snowballing, even if it doesn't snowball to other cemeteries. I can see it just becoming an ongoing regular request for us to assist at that cemetery. And before we know it, we will find that we've effectively taken that over as one of our own maintenance responsibilities. And we've just been talking about how difficult future budgets are going to be. And then we, it would seem at the drop of a hat, just take on extra costs. And, I just think it's it's a very big danger for us. So I oppose it.
I oppose the motion. Since I've been on council, I've not seen one donation to a religious organisation be approved. This is a religious organisation. And I think that the fact they've got one 80-year-old man that is still in the mine speaks to its unsustainability. And when I do not want to be in a position where council is shamed into providing thousands of dollars a year to cut that grass. It's not a sustainable process. There is a difference with the gold vote. At least that work has all been done by the volunteers that are there, and they've got a good sustainable base. This church has not got it, and I'm not sure what the answer is going to be at the end of the day. But council doing all the maintenance work is not the answer.
May I speak now?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I support this in respect that this is our heritage. There's people out there, the Whalens, the Kellys, the Clarks. Kellys and Clarks have no longer have any family in the Oberon district. And this ground was once maintained with assistance by council, that Pat Scott, who was our council employee, had an agreement with Bruce Fitzpatrick that he used to go and mow and just knock over the bulk of the grass. And that was all that was asked. I think we should change it if it gets up, that we don't do whippersnipping, that we just should be doing the rough mowing. It's a gateway into the town. And If you go out there and have a look, all the people that, most of them there have no family left, and that's why it's been left to this 80-year-old man to be maintaining this. If we don't maintain it, it's going to be overgrown, and the first thing you'll get is people visiting Oberon and saying, look at the way we look after the cemetery. They don't know whether it's a private cemetery or not. We do a fantastic job with our cemetery. You've only got to take the one down O'Connell, and this is what won't set a precedent. I think the diocese do the one in behind the church down there.
Ian Brown.
Ian Brown, okay, well, there you got someone down there. I thought it was, they told me the diocese. But I think we're going to say no tonight, and then you'll get that many complaints that you'll be saying yes tomorrow. Because when we wear Mr. Webb out, which is, that's the main problem, that we need to support this and just see if we can't do 1 or 2 mows a year, and that's all that's needed. The $500 to do the mowing, I'm sorry, but these are our people that made over. And that's the way I feel that we should be supporting it.
Okay, anyone else?
Are we bringing, oh, we can't bring Katie.
No, we can't, yeah.
We've now got. So we'll vote on the amendment. And then we will. Then it becomes up, it becomes the motion, and we do vote with it. All right, can you bring the amendment up, please? Karen? All right,
That's the amendment, isn't it?
that's the amendment.
Well, that's can't be right, because we moved the original one.
So through the chair. The original one is there and that council consider it.
Yeah.
The amendment is that council endorse it. You will vote on the current. Amendment that's in front of you, which is the $500 donation. If that lapses, you go back to the original, and then you will need to deal with the original if it lapses. If it doesn't come from open, you deal with that.
All right,
I thought we weren't allowed to move an amendment if we moved the original motion.
This is what we had to put forward because that's what's split up.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think you should go back to the original recommendations.
well, it did say that.
Well, you can't do that. You've
All
split
right,
the two.
let's put the amendment. All those in favour? Against? So that's 5 against. The amendment is lost. Let's go back to the original motion now.
The original motion is to consider.
Yeah.
And now you need an alternate motion. You have to deal with that. And that is the other, which is not supported.
Well, I can't put forward an alternative. Someone needs to.
Could I move further amendment in that place, Mr. Chair? My amendment would be that the donation request from the Oberon United Church be declined.
Isn't that a contradiction?
No.
I'll put it to them. Moved by councillor Tucker, seconded by councillor McKechnie.
I don't think I need to repeat the argument.
No, I think we've covered it.
Anyone else? Is there anything new?
I don't support the amendment at all. I think it's in direct contradiction of the original, so it serves me.
So through the chair, the original the original motion is for council to consider the matter. Right, so it needed council's additional resolution on top of that, because if someone moved that we consider it, and that's what council resolved, there is no outcome. So the reason why it's there to consider is to give council the opportunity to have this exact debate about how it is. Council has resolved to not support an amendment which related to a $500 donation. So they're entitled to create another amendment, which is not in contradiction to the original, which is to consider it.
So we now consider it and
And then in another amendment, there's been not to support the donation.
decline. When you,
Council to form the report.
The never came on that committee.
then we get it up on the screen, we'll do that. All right. You're happy with that? As it's written? I am. Yes. All right, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? And so that's Councillor McKechnie, Councillor McKibben, Councillor Tucker, Councillor Watt and myself. Against? Remaining councillors. That's Councillor Graham.
May I have a minute after that, could someone?
Motion is passed.
Again,
No, but could someone contact Mr. Walker and tell him that I will come and hold my 4 times a year?
Finish this.
That's it.
So the two matters are now being dealt with separately.
If we haven't voted that, if that was an amendment, that can become a motion.
Oh, yes, we have, we got.
Sorry, you're quite right.
You're right.
Quite right.
Lauren, stop please, we've got to pass the motion.
All right. All those in favour?
Yep. No, I can get it.
Against?
Councillor Frendorf, can you go ahead and give?
yeah. And you heard me.
What's the order again?
You came out licking your lips.
All right. Item 14.1. Once we get through the general manager's information report, have a break for 10 minutes and then come back and deal with the rest of it. Reports of information. Recommendation is that item 14.1 be received as information. Moving second, Councillor Hayden, Councillor McKibben, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation. It's a very lengthy report. Thank you very much.
Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am happy to second the recommendation. A couple of comments, please. Page 121. The land development opportunities, and this may come up in the status, but last line says I think it should be requested tenders will be prepared for the issue to the public in March. How's that progressing?
Yeah, through the chair will be done within that period of time.
So it'll be done by the end of March.
Yep.
The next one, funding deeds implementation. Just to ask there if there any further update in relation to the JRPP.
Through the chair, the JPP is meeting on the 4th of April to determine the application.
4th of April, and that will be a determination or another.
Through the chair, they've called it a determination meeting.
Okay, that's very good. Pleased to see that, and we hope it's obviously no favour. I just make a comment on page 127, the same as I made in the mayoral minute. The roads and asset council worked off the second last item did not occur, so that should be deleted. acquisition report.
And through the chair, it was just a timing thing.
That's right, no, I understand,
Compared to where it was.
I'm not saying that there was, all I issued, the paper was probably issued before the meeting was scheduled. But just to correct the time, more than happy to second this, Mr. Mayor.
Other councillors? I'll just note the interesting conjunction of training opportunities where you have enrolled staff doing confined space refresher training and cemetery safety training. Never noting your painting last week.
I had someone outside.
Right. Any other questions?
Yeah, just on page 125, about halfway down, heavy vehicle authorisation and examiner, is that clause so that we can approve our own vehicles for registration?
That's the case, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other councillors? I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous. All right, Mrs. Snell, can you stop recording and we'll have a break until 8:10. Good evening, everyone. Time is 8:14 and we're resuming the council meeting. Item 14.2, monthly activity report for planning and development. Recommendation is that report item 14.2 be received as information. Councillor Hayden, Councillor McKibben, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm on the second this. I noticed that the application is lodged page 129, 130. We seem to be getting on top of the issues. There are a number of with stop the clock. There are sort of some of them been hanging around since November and December last year. I suppose it means waiting on further information from those applications. And I also note that we're keeping on the compact town planner. Do we have a time period for how much longer we'll be engaging with consultants?
Through the chair, Councillor McKibben, as we transition with our internal staff into training them up for become full-time doing surveyors and also assisting with the planning matters, but smaller applications, we'll be transitioning our contracting planner out of the organisation. So I would envisage most likely by the end of this financial year.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said, I'm happy with more than happy to second this report.
Councillor. Any other councillors? Councillor McCarthy.
Yeah, just a couple, the last one on page 128. Dan, can you give some update where we're up to? And I asked you on the phone, when's it got to be completed by?
Through the chair, this is the re-primitive camping ground.
Yep.
I spoke to our project manager who indicated that the anticipated completion date was likely to be within 3 months. However, the concreter was due to start last Friday due to matters, and also I think attending some bushfires. That didn't happen. I have been advised that it's likely to recommence again next Monday. To keep the timing of the project within the 3 month period.
So what are we getting at is that the commencement date and the completion date, are they separate, or is it they've got 3 months from when they start?
Going through the chair, the commencement date has already commenced.
That's what I mean. Nothing.
However, but other than safety fencing going up, the concrete, so it would have pushed back the finish date by a week. They're still indicating within 3 months would be completed.
Okay, so by the end of June, it should be completed.
Again, through the chair, subject to no outside influences preventing the work being completed within that time.
Okay, and the other one is the second last one on 129 in the consent. Is the 30 lots now released? Sorry, up on 5/20/14/701. The subdivision consent stage consent release 30 blocks.
That's correct, yes.
So they're all finally agreed to go.
The first stage, correct, yes.
The whole 30.
That's correct, yes.
Doesn't need to.
The total was 40.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
First stage of the small one, and up the top.
Yep, no, thank you very much.
Okay, any other councillors? Put the motion all in favour?
Item 14.3, monthly activity report for technical services and recommendations of item 14. This slide, point two, the recommendation is 0.5. Report item 14.3 is received as information. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trimble. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation with that slight adjustment to the figure there, 5 to 3. I just wanted to say that the amount of work that has been going on recently has been very busy and the roads are looking great. Apex Park toilets, I absolutely went and had a look at there today and thanks the contractor for the work. It's almost looking like a new building and it looks like it's due to be fully open by the end of the month, coming up to Easter. Just wanted to say, I commend technical services and the roadworks crew on their dedication to getting all these works done prior to our winter coming up.
Trimble.
Yes, I second the report and I think it's been said many times of recent, the great work that's been done by the team. And in general, the comments that we received that Oberon growth being much better than surrounding councils, so great work, and I know that you celebrate with the team.
Councillor McCarthy.
Yeah, just the, I know we've gone in a holding pattern now, but the work done on the Abercrombie Road was truly the repair work out there. Like they've really done an exceptional job. And, yeah, just a pity they didn't do all the one on the Duckmalloy Road. Couple in close to town, there we've got a Guernsey, but anyway, the Black Springs Road was exceptional.
Thank you. Councillor Gibbon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also agree with the comments that have been made previously about all the work. And commend the technical services director and the team. I do have a question on page 141. And maybe it could come up in matters for action, which we will get to in the state of the resolution. But the two photographs there on 141, I believe, are the Living Treasures wall foundation, and we don't actually talk about it in here. What has occurred with that in relation? Have we actually appointed a contractor now to do the stonework? Have we agreed a price or a quote? Where are we with that? Because in the status of resolution, it's sort of up in limbo.
Yeah, at the time of writing the report, yes, that is correct. That is the wall to the living budget. At the time, the actual finalisation of the quotations were in progress. We established a My Works contract now with all the same facilitator who built the other previous wall.
The same contractor.
Correct. So that will be moving along next week. There were some delays with family matters with that contractor, unfortunately delayed in starting and commencing. So it's anticipated that'll be undertaken over the next 4 to 5 weeks.
And there's a price within budget?
Through the chair, certainly we have come up with a price that we thought that was quite reasonable, given that there's 2 walls there 11 metres long and both sides need to be done. So the quotation was $88,500 at PSC. Again, there's 42 linear metres of block work that needs to be done, which is equivalent to what was done on the other side of the common. That's good price.
And within our budget, what are we able to?
Through the chair, the excess is going to be supported by the scrap metal fund as council's resolved to do.
we're of the belief that's in the vicinity of around, I think, $15,000 that will need for the scrap metal.
All right, and the override common basalt rock retaining wall is now complete? Or has it got to be seated above the wall? Is that all it's got to do?
Through the chair, certainly there's a bit more land back that needs to be done on the bottom end. Yes, seeding and yes, consideration into gardening and a more of a protective barrier along the top of the wall.
Through the chair, council also resolved to talk to the garden club about the appropriate rose garden to go into the top of that wall. So those sort of things will now be, we'll make contact with the garden club to start that process of consideration of the.
I don't know how high that wall is, but do we have to provide, as comment, I think, do we have to provide a barrier at the top, or are we going to do that now?
Through the chair, as we previously discussed, it's no different than having the dams that we don't have.
I know,
Covered, however, there is a I think the engineers are doing their homework on whether a wall or a retaining barrier will be put in.
It's over a metre.
Absolutely, is over a metre, but they are different to. They are residential. The metre is a residential component, and this is something that we just need to manage as a list.
Right, I'm more than happy. Did I second this? No, I didn't. I'm not. No, put your hand up. Put my hand up. Thank you.
I thought the Luton Treasure Wall was to be totally funded out of the SIP fund. I thought that's what we moved, not just the shortfall.
Yeah, I remember that.
No, through the chair, it's the residual because we already had a fund. Remember, council have moved the 70,000 from the awning to that project, which covered a majority of the additional, with the residual funded from the scrap metal.
But does that still leave money for the path to come in off Curtis Street? I thought there was 60 or 70,000 for the path to come in off Curtis Street.
So we have the funding for footpaths that are separate to this project.
In the common.
In the common, yes.
Will that be done this financial year?
It's certainly one leg it's the bottom end down to Dudley Street and up to the current pathway near the road.
I thought somewhere in there was a plan that the path come off Curtis Street and headed down towards the proposed Aboriginal garden.
Through the chair, we haven't resolved to do that path at this point in time because it'll sit as part of the consideration of the Aboriginal Indigenous garden. But there was no path proposed. Well, the path's there as part of the master plan, but we haven't resolved to do that.
I've got to be more scrupul. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question. Page 135, Regional Road Repair Program, Abercrombie Road. And it just follows on from the question I asked in the Works Committee. Because the chart that we were given at the Works Committee and my recollection of previous reports said that there's 3 kilometres of work to be done. But this report says there's 1.2 kilometres in one location and 400 metres in another, making 1.6 km. And I just want to see, I'd just like to confirm that we are actually delivering what we said we were going to deliver when we applied for the grant. Through the chair, certainly we need to comply with the grant conditions that we did apply for. Look, I've taken on notice and look, I'm happy to send an email out confirming the exact distances on that. I don't know off the top of my head. There is a split in the two different locations as mentioned. It's not so much the length that we're doing, but was the length we said we were going to do. Yeah, no, I can confirm that on one too. Councillor Hayden?
Going back to what Councillor McCarthy had mentioned regarding the Curtis Street footpath. That was, I think that was back in March April last year, could have even been in May. And I remember there was a resolution that, a section footpath to be done in that Third Street section. Okay. I'll go through the minutes and double check again, but I do recall because I had actually brought up at that time, and that was at the same time that the bill was going into the gully.
Through the chair, there has been Curtis Street footpath,
So I
recently,
could be confusing.
but not the one inside the common that the council is talking about.
From the gateway.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might
That's
be.
what needs to be done.
Any more?
I thought somewhere along the line it was to be a bit wider than the previous footpaths.
Now, I'll put the motion on the table. Unanimously. Monthly activity report for corporate services, item 14.4. The recommendation is that item 14.4 is received with information. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Kevin. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to read the recommendation. It's been a very busy start to the year after the very busy end of last year. And it's good to see grants going in for the yarn circle down at the to get to be decided area. And the Field to Forest. The Field to Forest Festival coming up. It looks like it's going to be pretty busy. It's been one of those starts to the year where there seems to be something on every weekend, which is really exciting for the community, good economically and also good for our tourist base. So congratulations to all of the team that's been working hard there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second this recommendation. I do have some questions. Page 145, the open office project. When do we believe that this transition will be completed?
Through the
And
chair.
are there any current hiccups that may preclude that occurring, say, by the end of the financial year?
Yeah, through the chair, that project is still tracking to the plan. We open office are on site next week to commence user acceptance training across all the finance modules. So we are looking at an April-May time of phase one to be implemented, which is majority of the finance modules, some receiving and account planning. There has been some definitely small glitches along the way in terms of resourcing the implementation on our end, which we have. The staff have done a tremendous job in bringing that up to speed. One of the big ones out of our control was the planning portal and how that integrates with the system, which was out of our supplier and our hands, but that has seems to be remedied and on track now. So this is still tracking quite close to the timeline of this project. So we're looking at an April-May implementation for the bulk of the phase one modules, which will start with the finance related modules.
And when will the other phases scheduled for? Phase 2, 3?
Phase, through the chair, phase two would be very shortly after, so they would be looking at a June, July implementation. And there are some of the more community-based modules, events, HR and that type of thing. So we are pushing ahead with this project based on our current supplier and end of life. Some minor slippage in timeline of 1 to 2 weeks, but we have caught that up in terms of resourcing up to the staff and that implementation. So that starts training next week.
So when do you anticipate that we will no longer require the services?
Through the chair, that would be in that phase two implementation. All those modules we don't have on civic authority at this point in time. The bulk, the real focus is getting the finance modules off, which is property and rates, which we are looking to have through that April period. So this, the next few 2-3 weeks, the user acceptance training is very, very key, because that will give us the confidence as to move off that to new rate levies and all sorts of stuff that's happening in not too far away. So
would have thought that there would have been other councils that would have used open office, say, in conjunction with the planning portal and in relation to finance questions. That we could have, and we would have had some way ahead with looking at what they've done. Is that the case?
Yeah, through the chair, it is the case. Some other councils use different functionality. Some just use finance modules. We are taking the majority of the suite that they offer. I believe the integration with the planning portal is not a system. We're not alone in that, and we have we've done a lot of work in talking to neighbouring councils that are using open office and have tried to learn from those mistakes, that we are pushing quite far ahead of some other councils that started much earlier than us. So, and that's the real focus, is the finance modules to get in there, civic authorities.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thank you for that update. Cyber security, obviously, minds and thoughts at the moment because of what's been happening out there. Noting that we are taking on the Cyber Security New South Wales report and the recommendations of that. What is the timeline for meeting those recommendations in order that we don't get hit by a cyber incident?
Through the chair, those recommendations can be implemented reasonably quickly. One of the things that we have been encouraged to do, which we are looking, is actually separate line item for cybersecurity budgeting. Which is a requirement audit that looks at how much we're investing in that space. So the last round of those recommendations were able to be actioned relatively quickly in terms of our controls. The challenge of those is how we maintain an ongoing basis, and they will filter into the other recommendations that we continue to try to achieve. And some of those that have been identified by our insurer go much deeper than those New South Wales guidelines, which we're aiming to achieve with the resources we have.
So would we say we will be doing it by the 30th of June 2023 or after that?
The intention is to aim for the financing to implement those.
And the insurance requirements will obviously take longer because they're more in depth.
That's correct. The insurance ones, and they will be looked at by audit. But many of those insurance ones are a little bit out of our resourcing at this point in time, but they're the benchmarks we're aiming towards in trying to itemise our cybersecurity processes and budgeting.
On page 146, the financial statements and audit, one of the third bullet point is debt amortization. Can you explain that in a bit more detail, what's going to the audit committee?
Yeah.
Or the external auditors in relation to debt amortization, what the issue is?
Yeah, through the chair, I wasn't in that discussion, but my understanding is that they are looking at how we present the work papers around our debt, and that would relate to some of the loans that we are looking to, what we've been sharing with auditors for what we're looking to do in that space and how we would treat those for our work papers. So I think they want a bit more clarity on.
So how we would amortise it, the debts over the life of those debts.
That's right. Yeah.
On the facility attendance, which is page 147, I note that the Black Spring Community Hall has had facility attendance of 20. Is that in the last how many months, and how many of those are paying as distinct community?
Through the chair, there's for those 20, there's been no fees incurred.
No fees incurred for any of those.
The majority of those are in our booking procedures at this point in time. We do take bookings from BS, from the community association, with different activities they're having there, so they don't attract a fee, unfortunately. So,
page 148, the water damage to the library. The temporary library. What do we need to do to ensure that obviously doesn't occur again? Was there a problem with the roof and the ceiling came down?
Through the chair, that was the sudden hail event that blocked a lot of gutters around that building, and that started to flow through into the.
So it's got internal gutters?
No, no. It started back way through the roof.
Oh, okay, through the.
We've been in touch with Dirt and those that are part of that agreement.
Yeah.
So remedy stuff with a quick remedy repair some trades, and we're back. I think it was 2 days of operation during that.
Okay, fine, and I note the comment about the sixth bottom of page 148 going to 149, that electric vehicle charging station that I was looking at. And we got any source of funds for these charging stations outside of council? I mean, I know it's more about the joint organisation, but these are not cheap.
No, through the chair, no funding sources been identified. I think we recognise potential opportunity. We tried to assist officer in sharing some of the EV audits and quotes that we've received, and hopefully to be a funded project, and they can take that. We've tried to assist, but that's all very good ideas, but we don't have the funding for it.
And the last one is the Senate information centre for, but can you remind me, please, what colour did we end up evolving to paint this building?
Purple, Andrew, it's all good. Rainbow.
I'll take that.
We have resolved it, though. We have, no, forget it. I know we'll resolve it. Forget it. That's fine. I'm happy. All right, I'm more than happy to second this report. I think, Mr. Mayor, Councillor McKibben firstly touched on the water damage issue at the library. My question probably, or the second part of my question is, our agreement with the church is that we do the repairs, is it? We cover the cost of repairs.
No, through that incident was liaised with them, and they will be covering the cost of any repairs, but
I suspect that the cost.
that's right, yeah, so there's, so the trade and things we organise that will be covered, that's not part of our agreement in our short-term stay there.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And just as an aside, so I understand there are some other businesses in town that are putting in electric vehicle charging stations, which will be operational. There will be some more available in the next few weeks. And they're generic, obviously not just that. No. they're generic. That's all, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question on page 146, the table about rate payment. And I think I don't normally look at this table, and if I did, maybe I would have understood it by now, but I did this one. And I struggled to understand what a couple of the lines are. So about a third of the way down, it says percent of rating category outstanding. And I couldn't work out how those percentages related to any of the figures above it, what you divide into what to come up with those percentages. And then the next one down, paid February 2023, the numbers in red, I couldn't work out what those numbers are either. I just wondering if you might explain those two lines.
Yeah, sure. Through the chair, so the rate balance outstanding, so if you're looking at farmland, so in that entire, you moving across the row, the total outstanding is 224,022. The farmland rates outstanding is 729. So the percentage of that outstanding in that category is 32.8%.
So 729 divided by which one?
The total.
Oh, okay, we're going that way. Okay. Okay, yeah, well, that was me misreading it or not understanding it. And the figures in red, paid February 2023.
Yep, so they're the total amount that we have received up until that February month in those specific categories.
So what's the difference between that and payments, concessions and interest year to date?
Look, I'll, instead of waiting for the table, we'll take it on notice and I'll send it, but.
Thank you. That was all, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? With the motion, all in favour? Right, down to item 14.5, statement of investment, February 2023. The recommendations of item 14.5, we received this information. Councillor Kearney, Councillor McKinnon. Councillor Kearney.
Yes, happy to move the report. Good to see, some higher interest rates there and so the trend continues for a little while. 10% would be fair for everybody.
Councillor McKinnon.
I'm more than happy to second this recommendation. I'm not quite in agreement with my colleagues' comment in relation to 10% being fair for borrowers, but anyway, yes, look at it for the council's perspective. It's good to see that we're earning a bit more income. Do we have an estimated, I suppose, interest figure at the end of the year that we might be on the basis of the current interest rates we're getting now, or we're changing over from basically 0.5% or 0.15 to 4.4%?
Yeah, through the chair, I think the key focus of the team is getting above the 90-day swap rate.
Yeah.
And that's as the portfolio turns around and as new investments start to reach those wages, that's the benchmark that we're aiming at. And then that's something that we, prior to this environment, we were quite happy to, that's our benchmark. So that's the short-term goal as we start to place, but we're seeing much better rates as we, mature these and replace them. So
That's on a yearly basis. We're probably on 21 million, earning about $800 to $1 million.
I mean, year to year, we're sort of looking at 120 million of interest. We generally would like to pour in. So what we're seeing at the moment as that portfolio starts to turn, we will be able to look at increasing that as we move forward.
So if we had 21, let's say we had 21 million, 10% of that's 2.1 million. 5% roughly 1, but 4% is going to be now 900,000. So it's going to make a huge difference.
That's not
It's a big contribution. It ends up being a much more substantial contribution to our revenue.
I'll put the motion all in favour. Motion passed. Grant update, March 23, item 14.6, report site recommendations for the item to receive as information. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Gibbons, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the report. It's good to see that Archstone Road Stage 2 was successful. It's just a bit disappointing with the other 3 underneath. Let's hope that after the election we get some more grant opportunities that flow through for us to update all of our infrastructure.
What direction is it? Stage 4.
Stage 4.
What direction?
Yes, Mayor, I to second this. Again, as Hayden said, it's disappointing we didn't get to Shooters Hill Road or Mount David and the Dog Rock upgrade and the bridge. Having travelled over the Dog Rock Bridge the other night, technical services, the wooden railings on the side are actually collapsing. So it's not in a good state. If you haven't got the grant, you may have to do a little bit of maintenance on that bridge.
Is it on the Bassett side or on the Oberon side?
The bridge, the side of the bridge was on the Oberon side. But the wooden structure on the edges is not in a good state. And neither is the approach, but
That's on, that part of that's on, obviously one side is us and one side is Bathurst. I just make that comment that it probably does need some work now that we haven't been successful with it. More than happy to second it, thinking.
Councillor Tucker. Just to correct another little typo at the end of the table, page 155. The last item mentions Darkstone Road should be Abercrombie Road.
Thank you for that.
That's all.
Councillor Campbell?
For the chair, some questions about the unsuccessful student skills. So we now will have 2.98 billion ourselves. We are pressing is this repair required, and I also note that it's the Paling Yard, which is going to be where the wind farm goes in. So, which is going to mean a lot more. But then I don't know where that's at. I've seen it coming as well. But it's clearly a piece of road that's going to get used to it.
Through the year, that section of road was part of the application, more so from the Mount Morong Road, the correctional centre down to Abercrombie Road. Not quite sure what's got Paling Yards, but I think it's a little bit out of whack there. So it was really here to upgrade that last leg. Not detrimental to the wind farm, no doubt, but yes,
Change of direction coming from.
yeah, but point taken.
Because that's my other question is, we also have, the regional roads repair, at Black Springs, at the intersection, and 2.5 kilometres. You're looking to get funding for 150,000. You funded 200,000 from R2R funding and 250 from block funding.
Yeah, for this year, so that's for next financial year, there's been an application.
And again, that is an area of road that would be heavily used if Paling Yards goes ahead.
Yeah. So that funding is actually focused on regional roads and obviously every road being regional road. So we put that, put into the plan. Let's hope that.
Anyone else? Motion, all those in favour? 14.7, recommend the water and sewer fund report, recommendations of item 14.7 is received as information. Thanks for Hayden. So you'll stand up, Councillor Kevin?
No, I just give it.
Councillor Carter?
Kevin does.
He's got his head in, but
I missed that, sorry.
it's been like that for a while.
Oh, get stuck up there.
It's assumed that it is.
Councillor Hayden?
Yeah, the recommendation, and I did want to bring this up again, and I don't know how many times it's got to be brought up, but every time these rags get caught in pump number 1, that costs our council money. So I don't know what's going to have to be done. Does the community have to get a notification in the paper to say, please don't put rags down the toilet?
Yeah, certainly we do have put out in the past, community awareness about wet wipes and those type of items that are undeniably, not wanted in the sort of system, but it does, at times create a headache, unfortunately, and we do have to lift pumps to actually clear those wells. So there is 2 pumps, often a primary and a duty standby pump, but again, it's a labour of love, to be honest, with the unwanted items.
No.
Thank you.
Think it's fair. I note that consumption of water is going up a bit in page 1 compared to last year, probably due to the dry March we've had and February. On page 158, under the heating water treatment plant, these blower trips, has that now been fixed as a result of the contract coming in at the end of February, so that it's not repeating itself, or we're still having continuing problems
Certainly we have fixed that. We've installed a whole new blower unit. Certainly will help that issue.
And following on from Councillor Hayden's comments on the pump station, the follow 158, is there any way of somehow putting a filter mechanism or something in prior to the pumps to collect these rags so that we don't have this continuous problem?
Yeah, through the chair, we have certainly got a temporary sort of measure at the minute. It's not an immediate fix. There's certainly amount of modification to take a capital investment to modify the inlet box to the actual number one wet well. So it's something that we are looking at down the track to modify and improve, so we can extract the system would improve that issue or impact on those pumps.
Is it likely to be an issue if we get a new sewer treatment plant, or can that deal with these rags?
Yeah, through the chair, it certainly can deal with the rags and the pumps to a degree are certainly built to grind, foreign materials up. So depending on the influx of how much comes in at any one time, or a storm event, then it's a detriment to it.
So, sorry, if I can backtrack on you a bit. So the design, we haven't got the detailed design, but conceptual design again, of the new sewer treatment plant. If there was a large amount of rags come in, will the new sewer treatment plant cope with these? With the pumps it will have in operation, or do we need to put some type of mechanism in that design to prevent it? That's my question. Could we be proactive?
Yeah, look, again, through the design process, the modification of the number one pump station is not included as the build for the SDP. It's something that needs to be considered, and we are considering that right as we speak, but it can't be funded out of that particular program, unfortunately. Yes, the new sewer treatment plant will handle the ability of that input.
But we'll still have the problem with the pumps. So
until such time that we actually have modifications to that inlet well at number one.
So what's it costing us each time we have to let these pumps out?
It's more of an inconvenience. Yes, there is a component, so you might be getting an hour.
So we're doing it ourselves, we're not getting a contract.
No, that's not, we're doing it ourselves. We have that ability, the entry and all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, no one else? Motion, all in favour? State of council resolutions. The recommendation is that report 14.8 is distributed information. Seconder. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Hayden.
I'm happy to move the recommendation of the report, and I'll leave other councillors to do any discussion.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, the first item on page 160, when are we likely to get, are the comments going, the comments will be provided to the consultant, or the comments will be provided to the minister?
Through the chair, the comments are going back to the consultant who prepared the original.
Right.
They will put the file together, then we'll send it back to the minister.
So are we looking at April?
I'd have to give you an update. That's the reason why it's not there. This whole process sat on the minister's desk for 2 years.
I recall that.
So this is one of them ones that it's a gift that keeps on giving the council.
And just to the next one, we still haven't got any. I know that we were waiting for grant opportunities in relation to the residential industrial developments of the regional infrastructure fund, and we still haven't heard anything.
Through the chair, only that I'm pretty sure after caretaker, that whole funding mechanism has been shelved, and depending on how it then represents itself would be different. We're going to go to tender. I indicated that earlier in the council meeting. We're just going to put it out to tender.
So do we know when we're going out to tender for that, or RFP?
They're both end of March.
End of March, yeah. Okay.
So. Well, that's, yeah, that is. Implementation. Um. So on the overhead awning, which is on page 165. When do we think we'll have the quote for doing that awning? That's done.
Chair, the original one was
16,
so we look for another one to try and.
The other price is too high, wasn't it? So, yeah, I know.
It's one of the key things that we want to get done before the end of this year, to repaint the Cook Park beams and have the roof replaced. That it's time.
So we're expecting quotes back by the end of this month, so?
Yeah.
If we don't have them back by the end of the month, so we probably won't get it done this year. Okay. Last stuff is our PDP, which was 2022. I think that's all I have, Liam. I'm more than happy.
One question on page 161. The item in the middle of the page, Mansfield Road, Way. So it says that is now complete, which I assume means that will now disappear from its status of resolutions report. But my understanding is that there is yet to be further information on the total final cost and where all the money is going to come from. I just want to make sure we're not going to forget that.
Through the chair, it's been made very clear to everyone about the challenges of Newhamsville and the fact that we're still waiting on a decision in relation to the mapping disaster.
Right. So
And that's going to have an impact on whether we have to pay the total cost or we pay. Or we don't pay it and Newhamsville sort of go. Yeah, no, it's the project's concluded. Yeah.
Thank you.
Understood.
Cool.
Anyone else? Motion, all in favour? Okay, we've got the late report here. Is item 13.6, late report of decision, and this is council developments, the conflict of interest policy. The council endorsed the draft council development that conflict of interest policy. Place the draft policy on top of the exhibition for a period of not less than 28 days. And should no submissions be received in that we consider the policy to be adopted. Mover, councillor Hayden, councillor McKibben, councillor Hayden.
Yeah, I'm happy to endorse the recommendation in the three parts.
Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second the recommendation in three parts. One of the things I wasn't clear, and maybe I have missed it, is if a council or a council staff member is a shareholder or a major shareholder in a company, to which there is a development application, what is the situation? It talks about the council and the staff member, but it doesn't talk about if they're a minority or a substantial or a majority, does it? Shareholder in a company.
Or direct.
Is it?
Or direct or indirect.
Yeah, that's called indirect, is it? Or direct? Yeah. So where there are minor shareholders, and where does the I'm just interested how we. So if someone owns 2% of a company, or someone owns 30% of a company, let's use an example, or someone owns 51% of a company. There we go.
Through the chair, I think the council has declared a conflict of interest because they're the director on the health club.
Even if
Even if you don't have that role, like there's still an obligation for you to disclose your genuine interest, which might preclude you in another way. This policy is trying to make it transparent about what council, all council staff, because we've included.
Yes, I saw that. Yes, yes.
And we've also gone to that next level, and included what we call designated people, so not people just sitting here, but people that have some role within here. What their obligations are in regards to lodging a development application where council is the determining authority. Now, you have a role to play in that. I don't think it would matter if you own 1, half, 50 or 100% of the company. If you lodge a development, you've got an obligation to declare it anyway.
I can understand the controlling interest. I was just wondering how far down.
Even if it doesn't apply here, the pecuniary interest provisions talk about a financial gain or loss. There is an obligation on each council to do that.
And if it was a public company, to which we have disclosed that we may have a shareholding in, and let's say it's BHP, take your company. And they wanted to open a mill in Oberon, and put a DA in, and we're on the public register, and that shareholder owns 0, you know.
You step away.
Well, just
if we-
go to rule 1.
That's what
And we might all have superannuation schemes that have.
I think that there is,
That's a bit different.
that's the line, your pay rates as well, when you make decisions on that.
Yeah.
This is purely supposed to be some guidance to council staff and designated people.
I
As to what
I agree with the board.
Council? All right, I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Motion passed. All right, there is no urgent business. And we will, the council consider the following matters that are being considered, in accordance with Local Government Act of 1993 and Local Government General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the General Manager, the following businesses is of a kind as referred to in section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in the part of the meeting closed to the media and the public. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor McEwen, Councillor Hayden. All in favour? We'll now move into confidential. Nice. Stop recording. Good evening, everyone. The open session at 10:42 p.m. During the period of closed session deliberations, there were no members of the public present, no media, and recording via Zoom was possible. For item 16.1, curb and gutter unclaimable payment, council resolved that council does not invoice the new owner of the property and forego curb and guttering contribution for the property. Item 16.2, curb and gutter, Dart Street, resident review requested. The council offer a reduction of 25% and a payment plan to residents over a 24-month period for their curb and gutter contributions in Dart Street. And the General Manager reviewed policy 4105. Item 16.3, legal matter water. The council authorised the action as outlined in the mayoral memo to the General Manager. Employee service, item 16.4, the council endorsed the recommendations as outlined in this report. 16.5, legal advice, the council notes the legal advice received in relation to the town improvement levy. And item 16.6, Bailey Lane causeway replacement. The council proceed with the construction of a new replacement crossing structure on the Bailey's Lane low-level crossing, as presented in this report at a cost of $206,905 exclusive of DST, and that the estimated shortfall of funds is covered from section 711 road funding to assist the delivery of this new bridge infrastructure. I'll declare this meeting closed at 10:45. The next meeting of council will be on April the 18th, commencing at 5:30 p.m. in Council Chambers, 137 Oberon Street, Oberon.
Thank you, councillors, and thank you for anyone who is remaining on the Zoom. Good night.